Don't wake the human child stands as the single most important rule aboard the interstellar research vessel Cradle. It appears in bold red letters on every corridor leading to young Marcus Collins's quarters, translated into both standard English and crystalline Iridian script. Chief Science Officer Thea knows this rule while she helped write it. Yet here she stands in the dim light of ship's night cycle, her crystalline form shifting between deep blue and violet as she overrides the security lock on Marcus's door. The year is 2157, and the Cradle represents humanity's first joint scientific venture with the Iridian High Command. Charles Collins, the 37-year-old xenobiologist and Marcus's father, serves as the human lead researcher studying sleep patterns across species. The irony doesn't escape Thea as she slips through the door, her crystalline form casting fractured patterns on the wall from the soft emergency lighting. 4 to 7 Iridian crew members operate the vessel, their crystalline bodies processing energy continuously, never requiring rest. The Collins family, just father and son, represent the only humans aboard. Marcus sleeps peacefully in his pod, unaware of Thea's presence. His small chest rises and falls in the rhythm that has captivated her scientific curiosity for months. Thea activates her neural scanner, the device humming to life. The readings confirm her earlier observations during deep sleep. Human children generate brainwave patterns that mirror the frequency of ancient Iridian power sources. The discovery could revolutionize her species' energy crisis. The potential benefits outweigh the risks, she tells herself, even as she remembers Charles's stern warnings about maintaining strict sleep schedules for children in space. The scanner moves closer to Marcus's head. In the data stream, Thea sees the complex neural patterns that mark human sleep cycles, a biological function her crystalline species has never experienced. The boy stirs slightly, his eyes moving rapidly beneath closed lids. The scanner beeps, breaking the silence. Marcus twitches. Thea freezes, her crystalline structure flickering anxiously between deep violet and alarmed indigo. The neural readings spike, showing disruption in the child's sleep pattern. She knows she should stop, remembers all the protocols established by Charles about the critical importance of maintaining proper neural development and physical growth in spaceborne children through undisturbed sleep. But she's already gone too far. The scanner remains active, collecting data that could save her civilization. Marcus's breathing changes, becoming irregular. The neural pattern on her scanner transforms into something she's never seen before, something that will soon demonstrate why this one rule existed in the first place. In the quiet of ship's night, surrounded by the soft hum of life support systems and the gentle pulse of her scanner, Thea is about to learn exactly why waking a human child in space carries consequences beyond her comprehension. The next few moments will reshape the understanding between their species if they survive what's coming. Marcus's eyes snapped open. His small body convulsed once, then went still. Thea's scanner emitted a piercing alarm as neural readings spiked beyond measurable parameters. The boy's skin glistened with sweat in the dim light, and Thea's crystalline form pulsed rapid shades of alarmed crimson. "Charles," she transmitted through the ship's comm system, her usual harmonics fragmented with distress. "Medical emergency in Marcus's quarters." Within minutes, the corridor outside Marcus's room filled with the crystalline glow of responding crew members. Charles burst through the doorway, his face contorting when he saw Thea beside his son's bed. "What did you do?" He rushed to Marcus's side, fingers pressing against his son's burning forehead. "Get Dr. Morrison up here now." The ship's medical officer arrived from engineering, medical kit in hand. His experienced eyes narrowed at the sight of Marcus's flushed skin. Temperatures 39.8 Celsius and climbing. Morrison's fingers flew across his diagnostic tablet. "These readings. I've never seen anything like this." A soft blue luminescence began spreading across Marcus's skin, pooling in perfect synchronization with the ship's power core. Thea stepped backward, her crystalline structure vibrating uncomfortably. The frequency. She started, but stopped as sharp pain lanced through her crystalline matrix. Around the room, other Iridian crew members shifted uneasily, their forms flickering between distressed colors. "Get back, all of you," Morrison ordered, nodding their reactions. "Something about his emissions is affecting your crystalline structures." In the science bay 30 minutes later, Charles slammed his hand against a console. "You broke every protocol we established. Do you understand what you've done?" Thea's response died in her harmonic processors as the lights flickered. Throughout the ship, systems surged and dimmed in waves matching Marcus's neural patterns. Captain Zorith's gold-flecked form materialized in the doorway. "The boy's condition is affecting critical ship systems. We're detecting power fluctuations across all decks." "Move them to medical bay isolation," Zorith commanded. "Security protocols in effect until we understand the extent of this situation." In the medical bay, Morrison studied Marcus's readings with growing concern. The boy lay unconscious, his skin still emanating that ethereal blue glow. Charles hadn't left his son's side, his fingers intertwined with Marcus's small hand. "His brain is somehow interfacing with the ship's crystalline technology," Morrison explained, displaying a neural scan. "See these patterns? They're identical to the ship's power signature. It's like his interrupted sleep cycle triggered some kind of adaptive response." Security Officer Krell's battle-scarred crystalline form loomed over the medical display. "We should sedate him." "The ship's systems know." Morrison cut him off. "More interference with his sleep patterns could exponentially worsen his condition. We don't know what we're dealing with." Charles straightened suddenly, his eyes tracking the movement of an Iridian nurse across the room. "Wait, look at the readings when she gets closer." The blue glow intensified around Marcus, and the nearby medical equipment crackled with energy. "Distance correlation," Charles muttered, grabbing a tablet. "The closer crystalline forms get to him, the stronger the reaction becomes." Captain Zorith's voice came through the comm. "Iridian High Command is sending Dr. Lyra to investigate. Estimated arrival, 12 hours." Morrison checked Marcus's latest readings. "His neural patterns are still intensifying. We need to decide now, risk moving him to a shielded chamber or reconfigure the ship's power grid to accommodate these new frequencies." The medical bay's lights pulsed eerily, casting moving shadows across Marcus's glowing form. His small chest rose and fell steadily, each breath sending new waves of energy through the ship systems. Around him, human and Iridian crew members watched anxiously as the boy's transformation continued, none certain whether they were witnessing evolution or catastrophe. The medical bay's monitoring equipment shrieked as Marcus's neural patterns shifted again. "Doctor." Morrison lunged for the display, his eyes widening at the readings. The frequency it's synchronizing with the ship's power core. A sudden lurch sent medical supplies clattering to the floor. Charles grabbed the edge of Marcus's bed as artificial gravity fluctuated, creating a nauseating wave effect that rippled outward from his son's position. Throughout the medical bay, loose items began floating before crashing back down. "All personnel, engage magnetic boots," Captain Zorith's voice rang through the comm. The distinctive click of boot magnets echoed through the corridors as crew members struggled to maintain their footing. Charles pressed his palm against Marcus's forehead, nodding the heat radiating from his son's skin. The boy's face contorted in his unconscious state, and the blue luminescence surrounding him pulsed brighter. "Mom," Marcus whispered, tears sliding down his cheeks. The medical bay lights surged in response, nearly blinding the attending staff. Dr. Morrison checked his instruments. Temperatures hit 40 degrees Celsius. "Captain, we're seeing cascade effects in life support systems." "Clear all non-essential Iridian personnel to the stern," Zorith ordered. "Maximum distance protocol in effect." Through the medical bay's windows, Charles watched the ethereal procession of crystalline forms moving aft, their bodies casting prismatic reflections along the corridor walls. The ship felt suddenly divided, segregated in a way that violated the very spirit of their joint mission. Chief Engineer Petrov burst into the medical bay, his weathered face illuminated by the glow from Marcus's bed. "The computer core, you need to see this." He thrust a tablet toward Morrison. "Processing speeds are off the charts, but there's more. The nav system is generating jump coordinates we didn't input." Morrison studied the data, his expression grave. "These patterns, they match Marcus's brainwave emissions exactly." The sphere of darkness forming around Marcus's bed swallowed the overhead lights. Medical staff switched to handheld illumination, the beams bending strangely as they approached the anomaly. Charles reached through the darkness, finding his son's hand by touch alone. "The drawings," Charles whispered, remembering the papers scattered across Marcus's desk. "Dr. Morrison, I need to show you something." Security Officer Krell's crystalline form shifted uneasily near the doorway. "Ship efficiency has increased 47% since this began. The core is processing data faster than our engineers thought possible." "Don't move closer," Morrison warned as Krell took a step forward. "Any crystalline proximity intensifies the effect." The medical bay screens flickered with incoming data from Dr. Lyra's approaching vessel. Charts and ancient Iridian text scrolled past, highlighting patterns that matched Marcus's neural signatures with ancestral Iridian energy forms. "Look at his cellular structure," Morrison pointed to a microscopic scan. "The quantum patterns, they're shifting, adapting." Charles returned with Marcus's drawings, spreading them across an instrument tray. The papers showed intricate patterns of intersecting lines and waves, precise mathematical representations of Iridian energy flows that a child should have no way of knowing. "He drew these last week," Charles explained, his voice tight. "Before any of this started, before Thea's scan." The darkness around Marcus rippled like liquid shadow. Inside its boundaries, his skin continued to absorb light, creating an effect like a living black hole. The boy's breathing remained steady, but his neural patterns painted complex mathematical equations across the medical monitors, coordinates and calculations that pointed toward something waiting in deep space. Morrison studied the readings from the ship's enhanced systems, noting the perfect synchronization between Marcus's brainwaves and the vessel's power grid. "This goes beyond normal human capabilities, beyond what we thought possible for organic matter." The ship's computer chimed, automatically processing the coordinates contained within Marcus's neural emissions. On the main display, a path stretched into unknown space, leading toward something that called to both human child and Iridian technology with equal intensity. "Doctor." Morrison's eyes widened as new data filled his medical displays. "Charles, look at this." He enhanced a cellular scan, revealing crystalline structures forming within Marcus's tissue. His cells are incorporating trace elements similar to Iridian physiology. Charles fumbled with his data pad, hands shaking as he pulled up an old photo. This was taken right before. He placed the image of Marcus's mother near the boy's bed. Marcus stirred, his unconscious form responding to the presence of the photo. The blue luminescence intensified, and the crystalline structures in his cells multiplied rapidly. The medical bay systems chirped urgent alerts as new readings poured in. "Concentrated crystal formation in the brain stem and spinal column," Morrison reported, adjusting his instruments. "The transformation rate is accelerating." A violent shudder ran through the ship. Captain Zorith's voice cut through the calm. "Dr. Lyra's vessel has arrived ahead of schedule." The gravitational anomalies from Marcus's condition created a slipstream effect. The docking bay cameras showed the crystalline dawn connecting with their ship, its sleek hull reflecting starlight in prismatic patterns. Dr. Lyra emerged, her violet-white crystalline form marked with the intricate patterns of academic distinction. The moment she crossed the threshold, every system in the port side docking bay surged with power. "Keep her away from medical," Morrison warned through the comm. "Marcus's reaction to crystalline forms is intensifying." Chief Engineer Petrov burst through the medical bay doors, his tablet displaying navigation data. "These coordinates, they're not random. The ship's plotting a course to—" He paused, double-checking his readings. "The cradle of resonance." "Impossible," Krell interjected from his position near the door. "That site was destroyed centuries ago." Marcus's neural patterns spiked. The medical bay's screens filled with Iridian historical data as the boy's unconscious mind accessed the ship's databases. Ancient texts and evolutionary records scrolled past, focusing on a specific frequency pattern. "The sleep cycles," Morrison breathed, comparing readings. "Human children's sleep patterns, they match the resonance that triggered Iridian crystalline evolution. The correlation is nearly perfect." Security alerts flashed across Krell's tactical display. Multiple vessels detected at long range. Energy signatures match Iridian Preservation Corps vessels. "Incoming transmission from High Command," Captain Zorith announced, her crystalline form shifting colors as she processed the message. "We're ordered to proceed to the coordinates immediately. The site contains stabilization technology for hybrid life forms." Charles gathered Marcus's drawings from the instrument tray, spreading them out for Dr. Lyra to examine. The Iridian xenobiologist's form pulsed with recognition as she studied the intricate schematics. "These match fragments from our evolutionary archives," she confirmed, her harmonics vibrating with excitement. "Your son has accessed genetic memories shared between our species. These drawings detail the transformation chambers used during our evolution." Morrison checked Marcus's latest scans. Crystalline concentration in his tissue has reached 15%. At this rate, he'll hit 50% within 24 hours. We need to reach those coordinates before the change becomes permanent. The tactical display showed the Preservation Corps vessels adjusting course to intercept. Captain Zorith's form darkened with concern as she read the classified warning accompanying High Command's orders. "They'll try to stop us," she announced. "The Preservation Corps believes human compatibility with our evolution could destabilize relations between our species." Marcus's body arched suddenly, his skin emanating waves of crystalline energy that interfaced directly with the ship systems. Navigation controls responded automatically, plotting the fastest route to the cradle of resonance. The boy's drawings began to glow with the same blue luminescence as his skin, revealing additional layers of technical data previously invisible. "The transformation chambers," Dr. Lyra observed, studying the illuminated schematics. "They're not just evolutionary technology, they're a bridge between our species." The ship's engines hummed to life, responding to the coordinates embedded in Marcus's neural patterns. Ahead lay the site of Iridian evolution, behind them the approaching Preservation Corps, and throughout the ship's systems, the crystalline signature of a human child rewriting everything they thought they knew about both species' potential. The ship's engines surged as Marcus's neural patterns interfaced with navigation, but the forward momentum was interrupted by urgent alerts across the tactical displays. 3 Preservation Corps vessels emerged from hyperspace, their crystalline hulls gleaming against the starfield. The medical bay's systems screamed in protest as Marcus's condition intensified. Blue-white arcs of energy crackled between his pod and the surrounding equipment, creating a web of light that pulsed in sync with his heartbeat. "Power distribution is realigning," Petrov announced, his fingers dancing across control panels. "All non-essential systems are feeding directly into medical." Morrison's eyes widened as new readings flooded his screens. The crystalline concentration in his nervous system just hit 20%. These energy signatures. He adjusted his instruments, double-checking the data. "They're matching our computer core frequencies exactly." The ship's backup systems activated automatically, receiving streams of data that poured from Marcus's unconscious mind. Petrov leaned closer to his engineering display, recognition dawning on his face. These schematics, they predate our earliest records. How is he accessing this? A transmission cut through their communications. Cradle of resonance, this is Commander Zareth of the Preservation Corps. Your vessel is harboring an unauthorized evolutionary event. Surrender the human child immediately. The commander's image filled their screens, his red-gold military patterns rippling across his crystalline form. Captain Zoreth's response was immediate. Request denied, Commander. The boy remains under our protection. Charles barely registered the exchange, his attention fixed on a secondary terminal where he'd accessed his wife's archived research files. Dr. Morrison, look at this. He pulled up a series of charts. These sleep studies she knew. She was tracking the correlation between cosmic radiation and children's brain patterns years ago. Dr. Lyra's specialized scanning equipment hummed as she analyzed Marcus's cellular structure. The crystalline formations. Her harmonics vibrated with excitement. They're not random. They're replicating ancient neural patterns, patterns that existed before either of our species evolved. A violent shudder ran through the ship as the Preservation Corps vessels charged weapons. The tactical display showed their targeting systems activating, then failing as Marcus's resonance field expanded beyond the hull. They can't lock on, Krell reported from his security station. The boy's energy signature is creating too much interference. Morrison's medical alerts chimed again. Crystalline conversion rate is accelerating 3% per hour, but look at this tissue flexibility. He enhanced the cellular view. It's maintaining organic properties while incorporating crystalline structures. Captain, Petrov called out, his voice tight with urgency. The data Marcus is uploading, it's a network. Ancient facilities, all connected to the cradle of resonance. The ship's system surged as Marcus's hybrid physiology created new pathways between human and Iridian technology. Displays flickered, then stabilized with enhanced clarity. Engine efficiency jumped beyond theoretical limits. The boy's transformation is creating a bridge, Doctor. Lyra observed, studying the integration patterns. A living translation matrix between our technologies. Charles placed his hand on the medical pod's surface, feeling the energy pulses beneath his palm. Marcus's skin now held a translucent quality, crystalline structures visible beneath the surface like delicate frost patterns. The darkness around his bed had transformed into a sphere of shifting blue light. Hold position, Commander Zareth's voice crackled through the comm. Any attempt to break formation will be met with force. Captain Zoreth accessed the enhanced navigation systems, plotting multiple escape vectors. Prepare for emergency maneuvers. Dr. Morrison, secure the medical bay. We're not surrendering him. The coordinates to the cradle of resonance glowed on their primary display, a testament to ancient wisdom waiting to be rediscovered. Around Marcus's pod, the web of energy grew stronger, each pulse bringing him closer to a form neither fully human nor Iridian, but something entirely new. A brilliant flash illuminated the medical bay as Marcus's neural pattern spiked. The medical pod's surface rippled, its metallic structure adopting a crystalline sheen that spread outward across the deck plating. Status report, Morrison called out, watching crystalline formations branch through nearby equipment. His medical displays flickered, interfaces transforming into hybrid organic-crystalline touchscreens that responded to his fingertips with heightened sensitivity. Petrov's voice crackled through the comm. The ship's internal structure is changing. Corridors on decks 3 through 7 show similar crystalline growth patterns. His engineering displays lit up with cascading alerts. These modifications match the schematics Marcus uploaded. The ship is evolving. The deck beneath them pulsed with new life. Walls shifted from cold metal to a pearlescent hybrid material that conducted energy in visible waves. Control panels sprouted crystalline interfaces that merged seamlessly with organic tissue. Marcus's body arched in the pod, neural readings skyrocketing. Morrison studied the latest scans. Crystalline concentration just hit 25%. The ship's transformation is accelerating in response. A new signal cut through their communications. Cradle of resonance, this is Admiral Jensen of the Terran Dawn. The gruff voice carried the weight of authority. Hold position and prepare for docking. The tactical display updated as a human destroyer emerged from hyperspace, its massive form positioning itself between the cradle and the preservation core vessels. Captain Zorith's crystalline form shifted through shades of deep blue as she processed this development. Three-way standoff, Krell reported, his security station now encased in living crystal. The Terran Dawn's weapon systems are powered but not targeting. Dr. Lyra pressed her hands against a transformed bulkhead, her scientific patterns pulsing with excitement. The hybrid material is perfectly balanced between organic flexibility and crystalline conductivity. This matches theoretical models from our earliest evolution. Charles pulled up his wife's research files on a newly transformed console. Text scrolled across its living surface as Admiral Jensen transmitted a classified data packet. Sarah knew, he whispered, scanning the documents. She found evidence that human sleep patterns were engineered. The ship shuddered as Commander Zareth's vessels fired specialized resonance weapons. Energy beams struck the cradle's hull, but instead of damage, the hybrid material absorbed the attack. Marcus's unconscious form glowed brighter, channeling the energy through the ship's new circulatory system. Remarkable, Dr. Lyra breathed, monitoring the energy flow. The boy's hybrid physiology allows perfect synchronization with the ship's systems. He's redistributing the attack energy to strengthen our defenses. Petrov's voice held wonder as he reported, hull integrity increasing. The hybrid material is self-repairing, adding layers of protection with each attack. We're practically invulnerable to conventional weapons. A priority transmission from the Iridian Science Council filled their screens. Captain Zorith's form stiffened as she processed the decoded archives. There was another species, she announced, one that engineered both our peoples. Morrison checked Marcus's latest readings. Crystalline concentration stabilized at 30%. The integration is self-sustaining now. He adjusted his instruments as new data poured in. The ship systems are using his hybrid state as a template. The medical bay's transformed surfaces rippled with awareness. Lights adjusted automatically to optimal levels. Temperature controls shifted to maintain perfect comfort, and equipment reconfigured itself to better monitor Marcus's condition. The ship is responding to intention, Doctor. Lyra observed as a crystalline organic diagnostic panel formed beneath her touch. It's developing its own form of consciousness. Admiral Jensen's weathered face appeared on their screens. That boy is the key to everything. His mother's research proved that human children carry dormant genetic sequences designed to trigger controlled evolutionary advancement. The preservation core vessels moved into attack formation again, but Marcus's hybrid resonance field expanded through the cradle's new systems, creating interference that disrupted their targeting capabilities. The ship's transformed hull pulsed with defensive energy, each crystalline organic cell ready to absorb and redirect any assault. Captain Zorith accessed the enhanced navigation systems through a console that responded to both her crystalline patterns and human neural impulses. The coordinates to the ancient research facility glowed with new significance, not just a destination, but a missing piece of both species' genetic heritage. The cradle's hybrid transformation continued, spreading through its systems like a living tide. In the medical bay, Marcus floated in his pod, his partially crystalline form a bridge between worlds and perhaps a glimpse of what both species were always meant to become. Marcus's body lifted from the medical pod, suspended by streams of blue-white energy that pulsed in perfect synchronization with the ship's transformed systems. His partially crystalline form cast prismatic patterns across the hybrid surfaces of the medical bay. "Incredible," Morrison whispered, adjusting his scanners. "The crystalline concentration has stabilized at 35%. His cells are achieving perfect equilibrium between organic and crystalline states." Admiral Jensen's face filled the main display. "What you're witnessing was documented in Project Chrysalis. 3 other children underwent similar transformations during deep space missions." His expression hardened. "The Preservation Corps terminated each case before reaching this stage." Charles's hands trembled as he accessed another encrypted file. Sarah was lead researcher on Project Chrysalis. The living console beneath his fingers responded to his increasing heart rate, adjusting its interface to steady his movements. "Her accident was no accident," Jensen confirmed. "Someone wanted this research buried." The ship lurched as new energy signatures emanated from Marcus's floating form. Petrov's voice cut through the comm system. "Captain, the boy's energy field is interfacing directly with our propulsion systems. These readings." Engineering displays flickered with cascading data. "It's similar to ancient Iridian jump drive technology, but the efficiency levels are unprecedented." "Doctor." Lyra pressed her crystalline hands against a sensor panel. "The ship's life support systems are adapting to support both species. The air itself is becoming a hybrid medium." Commander Zareth's vessels broke formation, energy weapons charged, emitting frequencies that made the transformed hull plates vibrate. "Deploying containment measures," the Iridian commander announced. "The hybrid contamination must be contained." Exotic energy beams struck the cradle's hull. Instead of damage, the hybrid material absorbed each impact, channels of light spreading through the crystalline organic matrix like flowing water. The energy redirected itself through Marcus's suspended form, accelerating the ship's transformation. "Weapons designed for forced separation of crystalline and organic matter," Krell reported from his security station. "Ancient Iridian technology, created specifically to prevent hybridization." The tactical display lit up with new alerts as massive structures phased into normal space around their position. 3 installations, previously invisible to all sensors, arranged themselves in a triangular formation around the assembled ships. Their surfaces displayed the same hybrid characteristics now spreading through the cradle. Marcus's body arched in midair, energy streams intensifying. Data flooded through the ship system's technical specifications, coordinate maps, activation protocols. "Doctor." Lyra's specialized instruments captured the information flow between Marcus, the cradle, and the ancient installations. "A network," she announced, her scientific patterns shifting rapidly. "These facilities exist throughout the galaxy. They were designed to guide controlled evolution in compatible species." A containment field emanated from the installations, encompassing all present vessels in a web of hybrid energy. Krell's security scanners mapped the field structure. "No ship can leave the area. The field operates on frequencies matching Marcus's transformation." Captain Zoreth's console chimed with an incoming transmission. Ancient Iridian recognition codes scrolled across the hybrid display, overriding all known security protocols. The message appeared in both human and Iridian script. "Catalyst Child DETECTD Evolutionary PROTOCOLS Reinstated Preservation Override Engaged Commander Zareth's vessels powered down their weapons. By ancient law, we cannot interfere with an active catalyst." His transmission carried undertones of both awe and frustration. "The boy's status is recognized." Admiral Jensen accessed his tactical systems. "Multiple fleets are altering course to our position. Both species will want answers about these installations. The ancient facilities pulsed with increasing power. Marcus's floating form began to rotate slowly, streams of energy weaving complex patterns through the medical bay's hybrid atmosphere. Morrison studied the readings from his transformed medical equipment, watching as the boys' new physiology continued to rewrite everything they understood about human and Iridian potential. Through the mainview screen, stars shifted position as the containment field stabilized. The three installations continued their silent broadcast, transmitting data that only Marcus's hybrid consciousness could fully comprehend. Captain Zorith accessed the enhanced navigation systems, preparing for whatever would come next as both species confronted the truth about their engineered evolution. The installation's ancient broadcasts continued as sensor alerts flashed across the bridge displays. Morrison tracked waves of incoming vessels on the tactical readouts, dozens of ships from both human and Iridian fleets converging on their position. Marcus's form stabilized in its energy cocoon, crystalline patterned, settling into a mesmerizing rhythm. Morrison checked his readings. Crystalline concentration at 40%. He's achieved perfect equilibrium. The boy's consciousness expanded through the ship's hybrid systems. Data cascaded across screens in both languages, historical records spanning millennia. Charles leaned forward, scanning the information. There were others, thousands of them. His fingers traced patterns across the living console. Children throughout human history with unusual sleep patterns, each carrying the potential for transformation. The ancient installations pulsed in synchronization. Energy fields materialized around the cradle, expanding outward in concentric rings of crystalline organic light. Approaching vessels slowed, unable to penetrate the protective barrier. Defensive field activated, Krell reported. All weapons signatures held at maximum range. He adjusted his displays as new data streamed in. The field resonates with Marcus's energy pattern. Admiral Jensen's voice cut through the comm system. Sensor drones detecting similar installations across both territories. 17 activation signatures in human space, 12 in Iridian sectors. His tactical feed highlighted the coordinates. Each corresponds to a child in deep space. Morrison's transformed medical equipment chirped with new readings. Energy production detected in Marcus's hybrid cells. He studied the results, eyes widening. This is remarkable. The energy signature is compatible with both species' biology. Early results show enhanced healing in human tissue and improved energy processing in crystalline structures. The Preservation Corps vessels shifted position, their weapons powering down as ancient protocols overrode their command systems. Commander Zareth's face appeared on the main screen, his crystalline features reflecting internal conflict. Our ships are responding to the catalyst's presence. We're being compelled to protect him. Dr. Lyra pressed her hands against a sensor panel, scientific patterns flaring. The installations are broadcasting on a cellular frequency. It's activating dormant genetic sequences present in both our species. She manipulated the readings. The signal affects reproductive cells only. Future generations could potentially achieve controlled hybrid states. Charles accessed another encrypted file, his hands trembling. Sarah knew. She chose me specifically, my genetic profile. He swallowed hard. She engineered this moment before Marcus was even conceived. Petrov's voice carried excitement through the comm. Captain, the hybrid systems are spreading through connected vessels. Power efficiency up 300%. Hull integrity strengthened. Environmental controls optimizing for both species automatically. The tactical display flashed red. A massive shape emerged from deep space, its design unlike anything in human or Iridian records. Krell's security station hummed as it processed the readings. Energy signature predates both our civilizations. The vessel is responding directly to Marcus's transformation. The ancient installations increased their broadcast intensity. Technical specifications filled the ship's database's designs for technologies centuries beyond current capabilities. Each system specifically crafted to support and protect transforming catalyst children. Marcus's suspended form rotated slowly, energy streams weaving complex patterns through the transformed medical bay. His hybrid cells pulsed with bioluminescent light, each wave strengthening the protective field around the ship. Through his consciousness, the combined knowledge of three civilizations flowed: human, Aridian, and the precursor race that had engineered them both. The massive vessel drew closer, its hull displaying the same hybrid characteristics now spreading through the cradle. As it approached, the installation's signals shifted frequency, preparing to transmit information that would reshape understanding of both species' true heritage. The Genesis Ark's emergence cast a shadow across the assembled vessels, its hybrid hull gleaming with patterns that mirrored Marcus's transformed state. As the massive precursor ship positioned itself at the center of the ancient installations, Marcus's suspended form pulsed with new energy. The crystalline concentration in his cells surged to 4 to 5%, sending cascades of data through the cradle's systems. Neural patterns stabilizing, Morrison reported, his transformed medical equipment tracking the changes. He's processing the Ark's data stream without cellular stress. The doctor's fingers danced across hybrid controls. These readings. His consciousness remains intact despite the information volume. Through the medical bay's enhanced atmosphere, specialized cells budded from Marcus's floating form. The new structures shifted between crystalline and organic states, spreading through the life support systems in waves of bioluminescent activity. Petrov's voice carried across the comm system. Environmental optimization in progress. Oxygen efficiency up 40%. He paused, checking another reading. Crew vital signs showing marked improvement across all decks. Commander Zareth's crystalline surface rippled as organic patterns emerged within his structure. My crew reports similar changes. Our ships. His transmission displayed transformed preservation core vessels, their hulls incorporating living tissue that pulsed in sync with Marcus's energy field. The Genesis Ark broadcast a signal that resonated through Marcus's consciousness. The ancient installations hummed to life, energy beams connecting their vertices. Raw matter streamed from nearby space, converting into crystalline organic structures through processes that defied conventional physics. Construction protocols active, Petrov announced, studying the engineering data flooding his screens. The design matches information packets uploaded through Marcus's neural link. Some kind of evolutionary guidance facility. Admiral Jensen's tactical feed highlighted multiple vessels across human space. 7 children showing early transformation signs, all aboard deep space missions. His expression tightened. Project Chrysalis tracked their genetic markers for generations. Krell's security station mapped the Genesis Ark's internal configuration. Detecting large chambers, thousands of specialized stasis pods. The officer manipulated his scans. The technology matches our hybrid systems exactly. Charles worked at his console while Dr. Lyra analyzed the streaming data. The genetic sequences, she said, her scientific patterns shifting rapidly. They're complementary. Our species were designed to achieve this state. The cradle systems produced more hybrid cells, creating an ecosystem that spread through its transformed sections. Captain Zoreth monitored the approaching fleets, over 40 capital ships from both civilizations closing on their position. Research vessels, Krell reported. Specialized equipment detected on all approaching ships. They've been preparing for evolutionary events. Marcus's energy field expanded, his consciousness integrating deeper into the cradle's hybrid systems. The ship's transformed components responded, producing copies of his specialized cells. Morrison's equipment tracked the process. Self-sustaining adaptation achieved. The ship can maintain these changes independently. Through the mainview screen, the Genesis Ark's massive form dominated the space between the ancient installations. Its hybrid surface rippled with patterns that spoke of technology centuries beyond current understanding. The facility under construction grew between the installations, its crystalline organic architecture reshaping the void. Sensor alerts flashed as the assembled fleets entered scanning range. Captain Zorith accessed her enhanced navigation systems, preparing to manage first contact between the converging forces and humanity's ancient inheritance. The Genesis Ark's presence loomed over them all, its automated systems broadcasting signals that resonated through human and Iridian consciousness alike. The transformation continued, spreading through ships and souls as the precursor facility took shape. Morrison's readings tracked Marcus's stable hybrid state, while new data streams poured through the cradle's systems, revealing more about the grand design that had shaped both species across millennia. The Genesis Ark's massive form shifted, extending crystalline organic tendrils that reached across space toward the cradle. The living strands connected with the transformed vessel's hull, creating a direct physical bridge between Marcus's suspended form and the ancient ship systems. Physical interface established, Petrov reported, his instruments tracking waves of change spreading through the ship's structure. Hull hybridization accelerating, 7 to 5% transformation achieved. The engineer's displays showed new energy patterns emerging where the tendrils merged with the cradle systems. The ship's hybrid cells multiplied rapidly, developing structures that channeled power with unprecedented efficiency. A priority alert flashed across the tactical screens. "Emergency shuttle approaching," Krell announced. IFF identifies it as Project Chrysalis Transport, single occupant. Admiral Jensen's image appeared on the main display. The shuttle carries Dr. Samuel Harrison. He has critical data about Marcus's genetic profile. The elderly scientist's shuttle docked as the Genesis Ark's connection stabilized. Dr. Harrison emerged onto the bridge, his weathered face tight with concentration as he carried a secure data core. "Sarah's final research," he explained, connecting the device to a transformed console. "Everything about the catalyst markers." Morrison's medical readings spiked, crystalline ratio holding at 50%. The doctor studied Marcus's suspended form through the hybrid atmosphere. Perfect equilibrium achieved. His cells are producing new compounds, specialized catalysts for controlled transformation. The Genesis Ark systems pulsed, transmitting vast amounts of technical data through the physical link. Specifications for transformation facilities filled the cradle's databases, showing networks of installations spanning multiple galaxies. 7 new installations detected, Krell reported as ancient structures phased into normal space around them. Quantum-level communications active. They're creating a protective grid. Commander Zareth's transmission showed his vessel's crystalline hull flowing like liquid metal, organic patterns emerging from within. Full transformation initiated. "My crew." His features shifted, becoming a hybrid of crystal and living tissue. "We can interface directly with our ships now." "Excess energy detected," Petrov called out. His engineering displays tracked waves of hybrid power emanating from the cradle. It's affecting nearby vessels, optimizing their systems without forcing complete transformation. Dr. Harrison worked with Morrison, analyzing Marcus's readings. The compound production matches Sarah's predictions exactly. He accessed another file from his data core. 2 more children are showing early signs aboard the research vessels. We need to stabilize them. Charles and Dr. Lyra processed the flood of precursor data, their hands moving across living consoles. "The hybridization program spans galaxies," Lyra said, scientific patterns flaring. "Every transformed species gained access to their most advanced technology." Admiral Jensen's tactical feed showed more vessels arriving at the perimeter, 30 additional ships incoming, research vessels among them. His display highlighted defensive formations as human and Iridian fleets established a joint security zone around the transformation area. The Genesis Ark's tendrils pulsed with increasing power, transmitting new protocols through its connection to the cradle. Marcus's hybrid form rotated slowly in its energy cocoon, his consciousness expanding through the growing network of installations. Through the bridge displays, the assembled fleets held position at the edge of the protective field, watching as ancient systems awakened to guide the next phase of both species' evolution. Multiple sensor alerts flashed as the transformation zone stabilized. Morrison and Dr. Harrison worked to implement the precursor protocols, preparing to assist the other awakening catalyst children. The Genesis Ark's presence dominated the space between dimensions, its hybrid systems broadcasting signals that would reshape the future of human and Iridian civilization alike. Dr. Harrison moved swiftly to an open console, his weathered hands connecting diagnostic equipment to the hybrid interfaces. Marcus's energy output is becoming unstable, he announced, scanning the complex data streams. Sarah identified these surge patterns in her final research. Morrison's medical displays confirmed the doctor's assessment. Red warning indicators tracked dangerous power buildups within Marcus's crystalline cell structures. "We need to modify the containment field," Morrison said, already reconfiguring the medical bay systems. Dr. Lyra integrated her scientific equipment with the human devices, converting standard medical protocols to hybrid parameters. Her patterns shifted as she processed the incoming data. The Genesis Ark is responding to the modifications. New tendrils extended from the ancient vessel, weaving through the cradle's transformed sections. The crystalline organic strands formed intricate support structures, their surfaces pulsing with regulated energy frequencies. Detecting specialized matter conversion throughout the ship, Petrov reported from engineering. His screens displayed the emerging hybrid architecture. The Ark's technology is creating a scaled transformation facility within our hull. Dr. Harrison accessed Project Chrysalis files from his secure data core. Sarah mapped 317 potential catalyst children across human space. He transferred the genetic profiles to the ship's database. Each carries specific markers for controlled hybridization. The medical bay transformed around them as Morrison and Harrison implemented emergency stabilization protocols. Hybrid components grew from the walls, merging human and Iridian medical technology into new configurations. Marcus's suspended form pulsed in response, his excess energy channeling safely into the ship's adapted systems. "Admiral," Krell called out, 3 more children showing transformation signs on approaching vessels. His security displays highlighted the ships in question. Energy signatures match Marcus's initial patterns. Admiral Jensen nodded to Captain Zoreth, establishing quarantine zones around those vessels. He transmitted coded instructions to the fleet. Maintain clear channels for hybrid energy transmission from the cradle. Commander Zareth's transformed crew demonstrated unprecedented control over their hybrid vessels. "We can directly interface with ship systems," he reported, his crystalline features flowing smoothly, processing hybrid protocols at accelerated rates. The ancient installations extracted material from nearby asteroids, converting raw matter into streams of specialized construction elements. These rivers of hybrid matter flowed through space, assembling into permanent support structures around the transformation zone. Charles analyzed the radiation emanating from Marcus's cells. This energy signature strengthens natural connections between human and Iridian genetic sequences. He shared his findings with Dr. Lyra. Adult exposure produces benefits without triggering full transformation. New chambers develop throughout the cradle's structure, each specifically designed for housing transforming children. Petrov studied the emerging configurations. These designs could be replicated on other vessels. His engineering displays mapped standardized protocols for managing future hybridization events. Dr. Harrison accessed deeper levels of the Genesis Ark's database. They established similar networks in 12 galaxies. Historical data streamed across his screen. The precursors vanished during a massive energy surge that scattered their facilities across dimensions. More ships arrived at the perimeter of the transformation zone. Captain Zorith implemented strict approach protocols, while her sensors detected increasing numbers of potentially responsive children throughout both species' territories. The Genesis Ark transmitted detailed specifications for massive support complexes through its connection to the cradle. These plans outlined facilities capable of supporting thousands of transforming children while maintaining optimal conditions for both species. Hybrid matter production stabilized, Petrov announced as the ship's new systems achieved equilibrium. The engineers' displays tracked the flow of specialized materials through the transformed sections. Construction protocols operating at peak efficiency. Morrison monitored Marcus's readings as the modified containment field regulated his energy output. Cellular stability restored, he reported, observing the balanced interaction between crystalline and organic components. The Ark's support network is maintaining optimal conditions. The assembled fleet maintained their defensive positions while the transformation zone expanded. Through the mainview screen, streams of hybrid matter continued flowing between the ancient installations, gradually assembling the framework of a permanent facility designed to protect and nurture the next generation of both species. A surge of energy rippled through the bridge as the Genesis Ark initiated direct technology transfer protocols. Marcus's suspended form pulsed with increasing brightness, his hybrid cells channeling vast streams of precursor data through the ship's transformed systems. Energy throughput exceeding safety parameters, Morrison announced, his medical displays tracking rapid changes in Marcus's cellular structure. Crystalline ratio shifting stabilizing at 55%. The boy's body glowed with internal light as he processed the ancient information, each pulse synchronized with the Genesis Ark's transmissions. Dr. Harrison studied the incoming data streams, his weathered fingers dancing across hybrid controls. Incoming vessel, Krell reported. IFF identifies it as humanity's shield. Admiral Jensen straightened. General Stone's flagship. He carries specialized containment equipment from Project Chrysalis. Charles's hands tightened on his console. My brother. The massive warship emerged from hyperspace, its hull gleaming with modified hybrid sensors. General Marcus Stone's image appeared on the main display, his features sharing Charles's sharp angles but bearing additional decades of command. Security grid established, General Stone reported without preamble. My technical teams are ready to assist with power management. Petrov's engineering alerts flashed red. Critical power irregularities detected. The hybrid transformation created new energy pathways. Standard safety systems are being bypassed. Preservation Corps vessels moving to assist, Commander Zareth announced. His transformed ship surrounded the cradle, extending crystalline organic tendrils that merged with its hull. Together they stabilized the surging power flows. Dr. Harrison accessed another layer of precursor data. The Genesis Ark is implementing a three-phase integration plan. His screens displayed complex technical schematics. Safe harbors first, then education facilities, followed by civilian technology integration. 5 vessels appeared at the perimeter, their captains transmitting urgent medical data. More children showing transformation signs, Morrison confirmed, studying the incoming readings. Krell's defensive displays highlighted movement in the nearby asteroid fields. The ancient installations are expanding. His scans revealed precise geometric patterns emerging from the debris. The construction sequences match genetic markers in Marcus's DNA. He carries their blueprints, Dr. Lyra observed, her patterns shifting with scientific interest. Every transformed child contains a piece of their infrastructure plans. Admiral Jensen and Captain Zorith coordinated their fleet movements, establishing protected corridors through the transformation zone. The cradle's hybrid energy field extended along these paths, creating safe routes for vessels carrying potential catalyst children. New material synthesis detected, Petrov reported. His engineering displays showed the Genesis arc producing streams of specialized hybrid compounds. These can be integrated with standard technology without triggering full transformation. General Stone's technical teams began testing the new materials on auxiliary systems aboard humanity's shield. Initial compatibility confirmed, the general reported, proceeding with controlled integration trials. Dr. Lyra's specialized sensors detected an unexpected pattern in Marcus's energy emissions. The hybrid radiation shows signs of conscious adaptation. Her scientific displays tracked intelligent adjustments in the energy frequencies. It's optimizing itself for different technological systems. Charles accessed his wife's encrypted files, revealing a hidden network of medical facilities throughout human space. Sarah established monitoring stations disguised as pediatric centers, he explained to Dr. Harrison. She tracked hybrid markers across generations. The cradle systems continued evolving, developing new hybrid interfaces that merged human and Iridian operating principles. These improvements spread through the energy field, enhancing connected vessels with unprecedented efficiency. Civilian research ships appeared at the edge of sensor range, their instruments recording the technological convergence. Marcus's suspended form pulsed with another wave of data transmission, his hybrid cells processing the ancient knowledge with increasing speed. Through the bridge displays, the transformation zone expanded steadily outward, geometric patterns of hybrid matter, assembling themselves into permanent facilities designed to nurture both species' shared future. Multiple signals approaching, Krell announced, his displays highlighting 3 vessels emerging from hyperspace. IFF confirms research vessel Tomorrow's Promise among them. Charles's eyes locked onto the lead ship, Dr. Ward. He worked with Sarah on early genetic mapping. The Tomorrow's Promise transmitted urgent medical data. Dr. Morrison's screens filled with biometric readings from 2 young passengers, Tor's twins, Alex and Michael, age 8. His fingers flew across the hybrid interface. Their transformation markers are active and accelerating. Marcus's suspended form brightened, crystalline structures pulsing in response to the newcomers. Dr. Morrison studied the changing patterns. Crystalline ratio increasing to 60%. Energy waves rippled through the containment field. He's establishing contact with the twins. The Genesis arc extended its network, crystalline organic tendrils flowing outward to embrace the approaching vessels. Petrov's engineering displays tracked the adaptation of hybrid materials around each ship. The precursor systems are creating individualized transformation environments, he reported. Each child's genetic profile triggers unique material configurations. Dr. Ward's face appeared on the bridge display. The twins began showing symptoms 12 hours ago. The scientists' weathered features reflected decades of research. Their reaction intensified as we approached your position. Bringing them into the primary transformation zone, Captain Zorith directed. Her crew guided Tomorrow's Promise through the crystalline corridors forming between ships. A military vessel emerged from the defensive screen. Guardian requesting approach clearance, a stern voice transmitted. Colonel Hayes aboard with Project Chrysalis security systems. Admiral Jensen nodded to Krell. Clear them through. We'll need those defensive capabilities. The Guardian's hybrid compatible shields activated, seamlessly merging with the cradle's protection field. Colonel Hayes's specialized systems strengthened the energy barrier around the transformation zone, creating layers of security specifically calibrated for protecting the children. Detecting unusual activity in the asteroid field, Krell reported. His tactical displays showed geometric patterns emerging from the ancient installations. They're constructing docking facilities with integrated medical systems. Commander Zareth's transformed vessels moved into formation around the expanding zone, establishing power distribution networks, he transmitted. Our hybrid systems can regulate energy flow between multiple transformation points. 15 more potential catalysts detected, Dr. Harrison announced, studying the Genesis Ark's data stream, approaching from both human and Iridian territories. His screens displayed complex genetic profiles. The precursors designed these facilities for groups of 12 to 15 children. Charles accessed the life support controls, working alongside Dr. Lyra to modify environmental systems. Specialized pods grew from the hybrid architecture, their internal conditions automatically adjusting to each child's needs. Ready to receive the Tor's twins, he confirmed. The Tomorrows promised docked within the newly formed medical bay. Dr. Ward supervised as his young charges were transferred to their customized pods. Alex and Michael's small forms floated in the crystalline chambers, their cells beginning the careful dance of transformation. Marcus's energy field extended to encompass the twins, creating a synchronized pattern that stabilized their initial symptoms. Dr. Morrison tracked the interaction through his enhanced medical displays. The children are supporting each other's transformation, he observed. Their combined presence strengthens individual control. General Stone coordinated with Admiral Jensen, designating specific vessels for child transport duties. We've modified these ships with hybrid-compatible systems, the general reported. They can reach transformation cases anywhere in both territories. The Genesis Ark pulsed with increased activity, initiating new construction protocols throughout the zone. Research facilities and training centers grew from streams of hybrid matter, preparing for the arrival of more children. Petrov's engineering team monitored the expansion, recording every detail of the precursor technology's operations. Medical pods functioning at optimal levels, Dr. Ward confirmed, studying the twins' vital signs. Their transformation patterns show distinct variations from Marcus's template. Through the observation windows, Alex and Michael's bodies developed unique crystalline structures, their individual genetic codes expressing differently within the hybrid framework. Marcus's suspended form maintained a steady connection to both children, his presence guiding their controlled evolution. The transformation zone hummed with building energy as more vessels appeared at its edges, carrying the next wave of humanity's changing future. The ancient installations continued their precise expansion, constructing a network of facilities designed to nurture and protect each arriving child. Commander Zareth's crews integrated transformed Iridian technology with the growing infrastructure, creating standardized protocols for managing the complex interaction of multiple hybrid energy fields. A surge of energy coursed through the transformation zone as Alex and Michael Tor's hybridization accelerated. Their pods pulsed with bright crystalline patterns, creating resonant waves that synchronized with Marcus's field. The three children's combined output triggered cascading reactions throughout the Genesis Ark systems. Energy signatures merging, Dr. Morrison announced, his displays tracking the intricate dance of hybrid frequencies. The twins are stabilizing at 4 to 5% crystalline concentration. Crystalline organic structures flowed from the Genesis Ark's hull, forming interconnected chambers that surrounded the existing medical pods. Dr. Ward monitored the new formations through Tomorrow's Promises sensors. These chambers are self-adjusting, he noted, studying the real-time data. Each space optimizes its conditions based on individual genetic markers. The twins' hybrid cells began producing specialized compounds that flowed through the chamber network. Dr. Harrison analyzed the chemical patterns. These materials enhance Marcus's energy field. The combination creates a more stable transformation matrix. The precursors engineered this, Dr. Lyra observed. Different hybrid configurations working in concert. A new vessel dropped out of hyperspace, the Corvette Swift Response. Captain Thomas Reed's weathered features appeared on the main display. Long-range sensors detect 17 ships approaching, all carrying potential catalysts. Confirmed, Krell reported. Vessels approaching from sectors 7 through 12. Chief Engineer Petrov's monitors lit up with unexpected readings. The cradle's power grid is forming neural connections with transformed crew members. He traced the spreading network through his displays. The enhancement is propagating to all ships within the zone. Commander Zareth's transformed vessels demonstrated the advancement, executing precise maneuvers without conventional commands. Fleet efficiency increased by 400%, the commander reported. Our ships act as one. The Genesis Ark's construction protocols activated another phase, extruding hybrid materials that shaped themselves into specialized facilities. Training areas emerged, equipped with safety systems and monitoring equipment calibrated for young hybrids. Movement detected, Krell announced. The ancient installations launched sleek hybrid platforms into space, autonomous units with medical and defensive capabilities. They're designed to locate and transport potential catalysts, Dr. Harrison explained, accessing the Ark's database. Mobile transformation units. Admiral Jensen directed operations from the cradle's newly formed command center, its hybrid interfaces providing instant awareness of all fleet activities. Position defensive screens around the approaching vessels, she ordered. Prepare medical teams for multiple arrivals. In their pods, Marcus and the Tor's twins achieved unprecedented neural synchronization. Their combined consciousness access encoded knowledge within the Genesis Arc systems, instinctively understanding the ancient technology. The children are activating encrypted protocols, Dr. Ward reported. Their hybrid abilities are developing faster than projected. Commander Zareth's crews installed specialized containment units throughout the fleet, preparing for the incoming wave of Catalyst children. Mental link capacity confirmed, the commander transmitted. The units maintain connection across interstellar distances. Dr. Harrison studied the precursor protocols revealed by the children's activities. The Ark contains detailed training procedures, he explained to Admiral Jensen. These three form the foundation of the first modern hybrid group. The transformation zone hummed with building energy as the fleet prepared for the approaching vessels. Captain Reed's swift response took position at the perimeter, its hybrid-enhanced systems coordinating with the defensive grid. Through their merged consciousness, Marcus and the Tor's twins sensed the other children drawing near, their combined abilities reaching out to guide the newcomers home. Through their merged consciousness, Marcus and the Tor's twins detected a massive crystalline signature approaching the transformation zone. Krell's tactical displays confirmed the contact. Iridian battlecruiser Crystal Dominion entering sensor range, he announced. Size classification, ultra-heavy, nearly twice the displacement of Terran Dawn. Admiral Jensen straightened in her command chair. High Admiral Voss, signal all vessels to adjust defensive formations. She turned to communications. Prepare to receive the ranking officer of the Iridian fleet. The Crystal Dominion's arrival transformed the space around them. Its vast crystalline hull caught starlight in mesmerizing patterns. As it took position near the Genesis Ark, the defensive screen parted smoothly, reformed vessels sliding into new configuration to accommodate the massive warship. Inside their medical pods, the Tor's twins' bodies pulsed with sudden intensity. The Genesis Ark responded instantly, extruding new structures around each child. Dr. Morrison watched through his displays as semi-transparent cocoons formed, their crystalline organic matrices precisely tailored to each occupant. "Fascinating," Dr. Ward murmured, studying the readings. "The cocoons regulate energy emissions while maintaining full monitoring capability." His screens showed the children's vital signs stabilizing within their protective shells. A priority transmission cut through the command channel. High Admiral Voss's angular features filled the main display. "Admiral Jensen, our intelligence archives indicate you've initiated a civilization-scale event." Before Jensen could respond, new alarms sounded across the bridge. "Medical transport approaching," Krell reported. "Mercy's Light requesting emergency docking clearance." Dr. Ward's expression shifted as he read the manifest. "Elena Torres aboard, the twins' mother." His fingers moved across the interface. 4 more children showing transformation symptoms. Through the observation windows, Chief Engineer Petrov directed streams of hybrid matter toward a nearby asteroid. The material flowed like liquid metal, restructuring the rock into orderly geometric patterns. "Converting external mass into stable facilities," he reported. "Capacity for 50 transformation chambers." High Admiral Voss transmitted classified data that scrolled across Dr. Harrison's screens. 12 previous transformation zones detected across different galaxies, the scientist read. Each produced exactly 100 catalyst children before stabilizing. In their protective cocoons, Marcus and the Torres twins began displaying distinct abilities. Marcus's consciousness reached deep into the hybrid systems, controlling and redirecting energy flows with instinctive precision. Alex Torres generated complex patterns of force fields, while Michael's touch transmitted healing energy through the network of chambers. "Each child develops unique specializations," Dr. Ward noted, documenting the emerging abilities. "The variations correlate with subtle genetic markers we identified in early testing." The Mercy's Light docked at the newly formed asteroid facility. Dr. Elena Torres emerged from the airlock, her research tablets clutched tight. "The twins' energy signature triggered transformations in 4 more children during transport," she reported, moving quickly to the medical center. "I have Sarah's research data. We've been tracking potential catalysts throughout human space." The Genesis arc extended crystalline tendrils toward the crystal dominion, initiating transformation of its purely crystalline systems. High Admiral Voss observed the process from his command center. "The hybrid modifications will enhance our defensive capabilities," he transmitted. "Continue the conversion." Krell's tactical grid lit up with new contacts. 37 vessels approaching, all carrying transformation cases. His displays tracked the incoming ships across multiple sectors. Early-stage symptoms reported after exposure to hybrid fleet broadcasts. Dr. Morrison studied the cascade of data from his medical sensors. "The transformation process is optimizing itself," he observed. "Each successfully converted child strengthens the collective field." His screens showed energy patterns merging and stabilizing as more children entered the transformation zone. Through the hybrid network, Marcus coordinated with the Torres twins, their combined abilities creating synchronized fields that supported the new arrivals. Their unconscious cooperation drew surprised observations from the medical staff as transformation chambers activated throughout the asteroid facility. The Crystal Dominion's massive weapons arrays powered down as hybrid matter reshaped its hull. High Admiral Voss stood at his viewing port, watching crystalline structures flow like water across the battlecruiser's surface. The merged technology would create an unprecedented defensive platform to protect the transforming children. Medical transports continued arriving, each carrying precious cargo to be installed in the growing network of transformation chambers. The Genesis arc pulsed with steady energy as it guided the expansion of hybrid civilization, one child at a time. The steady influx of vessels changed to chaos as emergency alerts blazed across the command displays. Krell's tactical readings highlighted 3 medical transports in distress: Hope's Dawn, Stellar Grace, and Guardian Light. Critical power failures detected, Krell announced. 9 children aboard showing advanced transformation symptoms, life support systems failing. Marcus's consciousness surged through the Genesis Ark's network, his hybrid abilities reaching toward the endangered vessels. Through the crystalline interfaces, he sensed the Tor's twins joining his effort. Their combined awareness extended through the transformation zone. Crystalline organic tendrils erupted from the cradle's hull, stretching across space like living bridges. Alex Torres directed precise energy pulses through the structures, stabilizing power transfer pathways. In the medical center, Dr. Morrison's displays showed Michael Torres projecting healing energy through the network, sustaining the children's vital signs. Swift intervention, moving to assist, Major James Cooper transmitted. His vessel's hybrid-enhanced engines flared as it accelerated toward the failing transports. 3 Preservation Corps ships fell into formation behind him, their hulls gleaming with transformed technology. Dr. Harrison studied the cascading data from the distressed vessels. The children's energy emissions overwhelmed standard power systems, he reported. Converting too much ship infrastructure too quickly. Chief Engineer Petrov's fingers flew across hybrid control surfaces, implementing emergency containment protocols. His crews deployed specialized field generators, creating channels to redirect excess transformation energy back into ship systems. The Genesis Ark pulsed with increasing activity. Streams of hybrid matter flowed toward the asteroid facility, rapidly constructing additional emergency medical bays. Dr. Ward monitored the new structures through his displays. Advanced stasis chambers forming, he noted, can suspend transformation process if needed. High Admiral Voss's voice cut through the command channel. Iridian engineering teams deploying now. The Crystal Dominion launched sleek shuttles toward the approaching vessels, carrying specialized technicians and hybrid conversion equipment. Establishing safety corridor, Colonel Hayes transmitted as his forces coordinated with Krell. Hybrid defensive platforms materialized at measured intervals, creating protected zones along the incoming vessel's approach vector. Admiral Jensen studied the tactical overview with growing concern. Multiple unidentified contacts detected in outer sectors, she announced, moving to reinforce perimeter defenses. The emergency bridges Marcus created with the twins began evolving, their structure becoming more refined and permanent. Dr. Morrison's instruments tracked the change. Energy transfer efficiency increasing, he reported. New pathways accelerating transformation process across multiple subjects. In the asteroid facility's expanded medical wing, Dr. Alina Torres worked at hybrid interface terminals, her movements precise and focused. Implementing new pod designs, she transmitted. Automatic adaptation protocols active. The first of Major Cooper's rescue teams reached Hope's Dawn. Their hybrid-enhanced suits allowed them to move smoothly through the failing vessel's fluctuating power fields. Inside the medical bay, they found 3 children suspended in rapidly destabilizing stasis pods. Beginning emergency transfer, Cooper reported as his crews activated portable containment units. 2 minutes to safe extraction. Through the crystalline network, Marcus maintained steady power flow to the endangered vessel's life support systems. Alex's energy manipulation kept the transfer bridges stable, while Michael's healing influence preserved the children's cellular integrity during transit. The Crystal Dominion's engineering teams reached Stellar Grace and Guardian Light, quickly installing hybrid power distribution nodes throughout both vessels. The new systems pulsed with steady light as they balanced the transformation energy loads. Standard safety protocols established, an Iridian technician reported. Converting incoming vessels now. The Genesis Ark's new emergency facilities activated as the first rescued children arrived. Hybrid medical pods adjusted their internal environments automatically, matching each child's unique transformation signature. Dr. Harrison's teams monitored the transfers through advanced diagnostic interfaces. All 9 subjects stabilized, he confirmed as the last containment unit locked into place. Transformation processes resuming at controlled rates. The emergency bridges continued evolving, becoming permanent conduits for power and energy transfer throughout the transformation zone. Major Cooper's vessels maintained position near the new structures, ready to assist any additional transports requiring emergency intervention. As emergency operations stabilized around the rescued transports, a new vessel materialized at the edge of the defensive perimeter. The stealth ship's adaptive camouflage dissolved like morning mist, revealing sleek lines optimized for covert operations. Silent Watch requesting priority clearance. The transmission cut through encrypted channels. Major William Drake, Human Deep Space Intelligence Division aboard. Admiral Jensen's eyes narrowed at the tactical display. Authenticate and clear approach vector. Drake's credentials processed with the highest security protocols. His vessel docked at a newly constructed hybrid berth, the hull seamlessly integrating with Haven Prime's evolving structure. The intelligence officer strode onto the command deck, his movements precise and controlled. "Admiral, our networks intercepted communications from a radical faction." Drake activated a secure data feed. "They call themselves the Purity Front Humans and Iridians United Against Hybridization." Tactical projections materialized, showing enemy vessel formations. High Admiral Voss studied the data with crystalline eyes. "They possess hybrid disruption technology, stolen from Project Chrysalis archives," Drake confirmed. "A strike fleet assembles as we speak." Through the Genesis Ark's neural interfaces, Marcus sensed the approaching threat. His consciousness reached through the network, connecting with the Tor's twins. Their hybrid abilities synchronized, creating new defensive patterns. Alex's energy manipulation abilities strengthened the protective fields, while Michael's healing resonance spread through the grid. The combined effect generated cascading barriers of hybrid force, each layer adapting to counter specific attack vectors. "Remarkable defensive optimization, Dr. Harrison noted, monitoring the children's coordinated response. "Their abilities naturally complement each other." Chief Engineer Petrov's hands flew across hybrid control surfaces, implementing Drake's tactical suggestions, converting excess transformation energy into weapons-grade fields. The modified systems pulsed with controlled power. New medical transports arrived through the defensive screen. Lieutenant Cooper's voice carried tension as he reported from the lead vessel. "My son Daniel. His transformation started minutes ago." Dr. Morrison directed the incoming ships to specialized docking cradles. 7 new cases detected. Prepare emergency stabilization protocols. The Genesis Ark's ancient systems responded to the mounting crisis. Hybrid matter flowed like liquid mathematics, constructing automated defense platforms throughout Haven Prime. Emergency shelters materialized within the asteroid's restructured core. "The facility adapts to counter their disruption technology," Dr. Elena Torres observed. Her screens displayed evolving material properties. The precursor systems recognized the threat pattern. Krell's defensive grid highlighted anomalous energy signatures. "Enemy fleet detected. Experimental weapons charging. Deploy hybrid combat teams to evacuation zones," Colonel Hayes ordered. His transformed troops moved with enhanced precision, establishing secure routes throughout the facility. Marcus reached deeper into the Genesis Arc systems, channeling power into newly formed combat platforms. The structures resonated with his hybrid consciousness, becoming extensions of his defensive intent. Through neural links, other transformed children connected to similar platforms, their abilities focusing through specialized targeting systems. The Silent Watch's sensor feeds updated tactical displays with enemy movements. Charles analyzed the data alongside Major Drake, identifying structural weaknesses in the Purity Front's formation. Their disruption fields create gaps in their own defensive screen, Charles noted. The hybrid systems are already adapting countermeasures. High Admiral Voss coordinated with Admiral Jensen, positioning their combined fleet in overlapping defensive layers. Transformed Preservation Corps vessels took station at critical junctions, their hybrid capabilities amplifying the protective screen's effectiveness. Haven Prime's outer surface rippled with crystalline activity as automated construction systems extruded new defensive arrays. The facility's evolution accelerated, driven by precursor protocols dormant for millennia. Dr. Harrison's medical team monitored the expanding network of transformation chambers. Each new catalyst's abilities integrate perfectly with existing patterns. The precursors designed this process to create balanced operational groups. Through the Genesis Ark's hybrid interfaces, Marcus coordinated with the Tor's twins to extend protective fields around the latest arrivals. Their synchronized abilities created layers of defense that adapted faster than conventional systems could analyze. The tactical grid pulsed with increasing contacts as the Purity Front's fleet approached firing range. Haven Prime's transformed defenses hummed with accumulated power, ready to protect the children who represented humanity's next evolutionary step. The tactical displays flared with new contacts as the Purity Front fleet emerged from stealth approach vectors. 35 warships arranged in 3 attack wings, their hybrid disruption systems casting interference patterns across Haven Prime's sensor grid. Enemy fleet composition confirmed, Drake transmitted from Silent Watch. Modified human destroyers and Iridian warships, weapons charging. Energy beams lanced through space, striking Haven Prime's defensive screens. The protective fields fluctuated under the barrage, designed to overload transformation zone safeguards. Marcus's consciousness flowed through the Genesis Arc systems, his hybrid awareness extending into every defense platform. Through crystalline interfaces, he sensed the weapon's disruption frequencies and adjusted shield harmonics in microsecond intervals. Remarkable adaptation speed, Dr. Harrison noted, monitoring Marcus's neural activity. He's countering their disruption patterns faster than their systems can recalibrate. Alex Torres channeled incoming fire away from critical facilities, his energy manipulation abilities creating localized gravity wells that curved weapon beams into harmless trajectories. Michael's healing resonance spread through stressed defensive arrays, maintaining field integrity under sustained assault. Strike teams launching, Colonel Hayes announced from a newly constructed military bay. Hybrid combat platforms streamed from Haven Prime's transformed hull, their crews enhanced by Project Chrysalis protocols, exploiting gaps in enemy formation grid Sector 7. The battle space filled with weapons fire as Admiral Jensen and High Admiral Voss coordinated their defensive fleet. Transformed Preservation Corps vessels demonstrated unprecedented agility, their hybrid drives allowing impossible maneuvers between enemy salvos. New contact detected, Krell reported. IFF identifies as Legacy Keeper, Captain David Stone commanding. The vessel's sleek hull gleamed with integrated Project Chrysalis technology as it accelerated into attack position. Advanced prototype weapons deployed from concealed ports, specifically engineered to complement hybrid defensive systems. "Brother, your timing is perfect," Admiral Marcus Stone transmitted. "Coordinate with Hayes's strike teams. Target their lead destroyer's port flank." Chief Engineer Petrov's fingers danced across hybrid controls, analyzing enemy weapon signatures. Their disruption tech shows adaptation lag, cannot match our frequency shift rate. Marcus integrated this insight into Haven Prime's defensive grid. Shield harmonics began cycling in synchronized patterns, the Tor's twins amplifying and distributing the protective frequencies. Enemy disruption beams splashed harmlessly against the evolving barriers. Inside Haven Prime's medical wing, Dr. Morrison's team worked to stabilize transformation pods affected by power fluctuations, linking life support systems directly to Marcus's network, he reported. Pod stability restored. The Genesis Ark's ancient systems accelerated Haven Prime's internal evolution. New shelters and medical bays materialized deeper within the asteroid structure, providing secure zones for vulnerable children. 3 more transformation signals activated during the battle, their pods automatically connecting to Marcus's protective grid. Security Officer Krell coordinated with Commander Zareth's transformed vessels, establishing mobile defense lines that anticipated and intercepted enemy strike attempts. Their hybrid ships demonstrated superior tactical awareness, countering Purity Front numerical advantages through precise positioning and energy efficiency. A massive vessel emerged from the enemy fleet's center, the Pure Dawn. Nearly twice the size of Crystal Dominion, its weapons arrays powered up with threatening intensity. Admiral Wright, High Admiral Voss transmitted, "Your actions threaten children under our protection. Those children represent an uncontrolled mutation of both our species." Wright's response carried cold certainty. "We cannot allow this transformation to spread." Pure Dawn's main batteries opened fire, unleashing devastating weapon volleys. Marcus channeled excess transformation energy into critical defense points, the Tor's twins helping distribute power through their evolved network. Haven Prime's shields held against the onslaught, but power readings showed increasing strain. "Hybrid strike teams, press the attack," Colonel Hayes ordered. "Target their secondary weapon clusters while they focus on Haven Prime." Legacy Keeper's prototype weapons engaged Pure Dawn's port defenses, its specialized systems penetrating portions of the enemy flagship's shields. Captain Stone coordinated with Hayes's forces, creating breakthrough opportunities in Wright's defensive screen. Through crystalline interfaces, Marcus maintained precise control over Haven Prime's evolving defenses. The ancient facility's automated construction systems continued producing emergency shelters and medical bays, even as battle raged around its outer hull. Each new transformation pod linked seamlessly into his protective network, ensuring vulnerable children remained safe despite the intense combat. Silent Watch maintained position at the battle's edge, Major Drake's sensor feeds providing crucial tactical data about enemy movements and weapon configurations. The stealth vessel's hybrid-enhanced systems penetrated Pure Dawn's electronic warfare screens, revealing structural vulnerabilities in Wright's flagship. Energy weapons crisscrossed space as the battle intensified, Haven Prime's defenders fighting to protect their precious cargo, while the Purity Front pressed their attack with increasing desperation. Marcus coordinated with the Tor's twins, their combined abilities creating an impenetrable defensive grid around the transformation zone. Through it all, the Genesis Arc systems continued to evolve, preparing for whatever challenges lay ahead. Pure Dawn's weapons array erupted with concentrated fire, targeting the power distribution nodes, sustaining Haven Prime's medical sector shields. The specialized disruption beams, clearly derived from stolen Project Chrysalis research, began systematically degrading the defensive grid's integrity. Marcus processed the tactical data through his hybrid interface. Standard defensive protocols would fail within minutes against Wright's coordinated assault. Through crystal-enhanced senses, he identified the enemy flagship's firing pattern, a precise sequence designed to collapse the medical facility's protective screen. Primary shield generators showing critical strain, Chief Engineer Petrov reported. Grid sectors 3 through 7 compromised. Marcus initiated deep integration with Haven Prime systems, pushing his crystalline concentration beyond established safety thresholds. His consciousness expanded through the facility's hybrid architecture as transformation levels exceeded 60%. Warning alerts flashed across Dr. Morrison's medical displays. Neural activity approaching dangerous levels, Morrison transmitted. Marcus's synaptic readings are off the scale. The integrated defensive network responded instantly to Marcus's enhanced control. Shield harmonics shifted faster than Pure Dawn's targeting computers could adjust, deflecting the concentrated weapon barrage. But the strain on his transformed physiology intensified with each passing second. A sleek vessel emerged from hyperspace at the battle's edge. Its hull gleamed with experimental hybrid alloys, marking it as Project Chrysalis technology. "This is Commander Blake aboard Quantum Shield," a familiar voice transmitted, "bringing specialized targeting data on enemy weapon systems." "Uncle Jason," Marcus acknowledged through the command network. The arrival of his mother's brother, a decorated Border Wars veteran, brought vital tactical advantages. Quantum Shield's advanced sensors penetrated Pure Dawn's electronic warfare screens, revealing critical flaws in their hybrid technology integration. Commander Blake transmitted the data to Haven Prime's tactical network. "Their prototype systems are dangerously unstable," Blake reported. Power core showing signs of feedback cascade. The Tor's twins connected to Marcus's expanded control network, their synchronized abilities amplifying Haven Prime's defenses. Alex redirected excess transformation energy from the medical pods, feeding it into the shield grid. Michael's healing resonance spread through the hybrid material, repairing damage faster than enemy weapons could inflict it. "Incredible synergy," Dr. Harrison noted. "The children's abilities are creating a self-sustaining defense pattern." 3 Purity Front destroyers broke through the outer defensive screen, accelerating toward the medical bays housing newly transforming children. Security Officer Krell's tactical display highlighted their approach vector. "Enemy boarding vessels detected," Krell announced, moving to intercept. Colonel Hayes deployed hybrid strike teams through Haven Prime's transformed corridors. "Defense teams, engage hostiles before they reach the medical sector." The Genesis Ark's ancient systems activated dormant protocols in response to the threat. Crystalline matter flowed through construction channels, assembling squadrons of autonomous combat drones. The units integrated seamlessly with Marcus's control network, establishing defensive formations around critical medical facilities. Legacy Keeper demonstrated the full capabilities of its advanced weapons, targeting Pure Dawn's disruption generators with precise strikes. Captain Stone coordinated his attack pattern with Marcus's defensive grid, creating vulnerabilities for Admiral Jensen's forces to exploit. "Their disruption tech is failing," Stone transmitted. "Press the advantage." Admiral Wright's response came swiftly. Pure Dawn's massive engines fired at maximum thrust, turning the flagship's bow toward Haven Prime's main docking facility. "He's going to ram the medical sector," High Admiral Voss realized. "All Iridian vessels, engage at point-blank range. We must stop that ship." Commander Zareth's transformed crews achieved unprecedented integration with their hybrid vessels. The ships moved with impossible precision, forming an impenetrable screen between Pure Dawn and the vulnerable medical bays. Their enhanced maneuvers defied conventional space combat tactics. Marcus channeled power through Haven Prime's evolved defense grid, the Tor's twins helping distribute the load across multiple systems. Through crystal-enhanced awareness, he coordinated with Commander Blake's quantum shield, targeting the enemy flagship's unstable power core. The battle entered a critical phase as both sides committed their remaining forces to the engagement. Marcus's crystal-enhanced senses detected an alarming resonance pattern within Pure Dawn's hybrid systems. The stolen Project Chrysalis technology pulsed with unstable energy signatures, its power core approaching critical failure thresholds. Admiral Jensen, Pure Dawn's integration matrix is collapsing, Marcus transmitted through Haven Prime's network. Core readings indicate catastrophic cascade building. Dr. Morrison burst into action as Marcus's vital signs spiked dangerously. Neural activity critical. Synaptic load exceeding safe parameters. Michael Torres placed his hands on the crystalline interface surrounding Marcus, channeling healing energy into the boy's stressed biological systems. The resonance spread through their connection, helping stabilize Marcus's vital signs even as he maintained control of Haven Prime's defensive grid. A massive vessel emerged from hyperspace, its hull bearing the distinctive markings of Earth's Defense Council. This is Lieutenant General Thomas Ward aboard humanity's Covenant. All vessels acknowledge and coordinate. The General's carrier deployed squadrons of hybrid-compatible fighters, their specialized systems seamlessly integrating with Haven Prime's defensive network. Captain Stone's Legacy Keeper transmitted targeting solutions through Marcus's enhanced awareness. Confirmed lock on Pure Dawn's power distribution nodes, Stone reported. Commander Blake, synchronize attack pattern. Quantum Shield's advanced weapons fired in precise coordination with Legacy Keeper's strike. Energy beams penetrated Pure Dawn's weakened defenses, severing critical power conduits, but the attack accelerated the flagship's deterioration. Power readings climbing exponentially, Chief Engineer Petrov announced. Core containment failing. Blast radius will overwhelm our shields at current range. The Genesis Ark's ancient systems responded instantly. Crystalline structures flowed from construction channels, forming an expanding sphere around Wright's unstable vessel. Marcus directed the containment field's growth through his hybrid interface, feeling the strain as billions of microscopic crystals arranged themselves into interlocking patterns. Evacuation corridor established, Security Officer Krell transmitted. Commander Zareth's vessels maintaining stable approach vectors. Colonel Hayes's hybrid strike teams breached Pure Dawn's hull through designated access points. Recovery teams entering sensitive sectors, beginning crew extraction and data core retrieval. The Torres twins linked their abilities through Haven Prime's network. Alex manipulated energy surges away from evacuation routes, while Michael's healing resonance strengthened failing structural supports. Emergency shuttles streamed between the vessels as Wright's crew abandoned their doomed flagship. Most of these personnel had no knowledge of Wright's true plans, Hayes reported as his teams accessed secured compartments. Recovering Project Chrysalis research data now. Lieutenant General Ward's presence transformed the defensive line. His experience commanding hybrid forces during the border wars showed in the precise positioning of each vessel. Multiple layers of adaptive shields formed around the civilian ships carrying potential catalyst children. Marcus maintained his dangerous connection to Haven Prime systems, monitoring Pure Dawn's deterioration through crystal-enhanced senses. The containment sphere strained against growing waves of unstable energy. Through the hybrid network, he felt each power surge like electricity arcing through his transformed nervous system. Final evacuation shuttles launching, Krell announced. Corridor collapse imminent. The Genesis Ark's crystalline field contracted, strengthening its contained volume as Pure Dawn's power core approached critical mass. Dr. Morrison administered emergency, stabilizing compounds to Marcus's biological systems, while Michael Torres channeled continuous healing energy through their linked interface. Containment field holding, Petrov reported. But these energy readings are unprecedented. Core breach imminent, Petrov's voice cut through the command network. Energy signatures exceeding measurable parameters. Marcus pushed deeper into Haven Prime systems, his consciousness expanding as crystalline patterns spread across his skin. The transformation percentage climbed past 70%, sending waves of sensation through his enhanced nervous system. Neural activity at dangerous levels, Dr. Morrison transmitted. We need immediate stabilization. A sleek research vessel emerged from the defensive screen, its hull bearing specialized hybrid dampening arrays. This is Dr. Sarah Ward aboard tomorrow's Promise. Transmitting stabilization protocols now. The dampening technology integrated with Haven Prime's network, creating a resonance pattern that helped balance the massive energy load flowing through Marcus's systems. Through crystal-enhanced awareness, he maintained precise control over the Genesis Ark's containment field as Pure Dawn's hull began breaking apart. Detecting multiple structural failures, Commander Blake reported. Quantum shield deploying containment drones. The experimental units spread outward from Blake's vessel, their precursor-derived technology creating an additional barrier around Wright's dying flagship. Waves of corrupted hybrid energy pulsed against the containment field as Pure Dawn systems cascaded toward total failure. The Genesis Ark responded to the crisis, initiating emergency protocols that transformed huge sections of Haven Prime. Crystalline matter flowed through construction channels, forming specialized chambers designed to safely absorb and process the released power. Energy signatures stabilizing, Chief Engineer Petrov announced. New absorption matrix showing positive results. We can redirect this power to accelerate Haven Prime's expansion. Alex Torres established safe corridors through the chaos, creating paths of stable energy that allowed evacuation shuttles to navigate the dangerous space around Pure Dawn. His brother Michael projected healing fields that shielded rescue teams from intense radiation exposure. Multiple life signs detected in Section 14, Security Officer Krell transmitted. Hull integrity critical in that sector. Colonel Hayes's strike teams moved through the failing vessel with practiced efficiency. Rescue units converging on trapped personnel. Extraction window closing fast. Lieutenant General Ward coordinated with the fleet, establishing a protective screen that kept arriving medical transports at safe distance. All civilian vessels maintain position beyond the quarantine boundary. Stellar Aegis will provide escort to alternate docking facilities. The Genesis Ark's ancient systems continued evolving in response to the massive energy influx. New training facilities took shape throughout Haven Prime as absorbed power was converted into practical infrastructure. Medical monitoring stations and containment systems grew from the hybrid material, creating safe environments for transformed children to develop their abilities. Final rescue shuttles clear, Hayes reported. Multiple conscripted personnel recovered. Intel indicates forced recruitment by Wright's forces. Marcus felt the strain ease as Dr. Ward's stabilization technology fully integrated with Haven Prime systems. The specialized dampening field allowed him to maintain control while reducing the dangerous neural load. Through the hybrid network, he directed excess energy into the newly formed absorption chambers. Construction protocols accelerating, Petrov noted. Transformation zone expansion proceeding at triple normal rate. Fleet Admiral Richardson's carrier Stellar Aegis moved into position near Haven Prime's outer docks, its holds packed with hybrid-compatible supplies and equipment. The massive vessel's arrival marked a shift in official policy toward the transformation program. Pure Dawn's hull split apart as its power core reached final collapse. The containment field held steady, channeling the released energy through Commander Blake's drone network into Haven Prime's absorption chambers. Marcus coordinated with the Tor's twins, creating stable pathways for the massive power transfer. Hybrid integration matrix showing unprecedented efficiency, Dr. Ward transmitted. The facility's adaptation rate exceeds all previous data. New sections of Haven Prime took shape as the Genesis Ark converted the absorbed energy into functional spaces. Training rooms, medical bays, and defensive installations grew from the hybrid material, expanding the transformation zone's capabilities. Through crystal-enhanced senses, Marcus monitored the construction process while maintaining the critical containment field around Pure Dawn's remnants. The combined fleets of Lieutenant General Ward and High Admiral Voss maintained their protective screen as additional medical transports arrived carrying potential catalyst children. Their vessels' hybrid-enhanced systems adapted to channel any stray energy signatures away from the approaching ships. Primary absorption phase complete, Petrov announced. Beginning power distribution to new facilities. Marcus felt the crystalline patterns across his skin pulse in harmony with Haven Prime's evolved systems as the facility continued its rapid transformation. Through the hybrid network, he sensed the arrival of more vessels carrying children whose lives would be forever changed by the power now flowing through the transformation zone's expanded chambers. Marcus monitored the power distribution networks through Haven Prime's crystal interface as the facility absorbed the last remnants of Pure Dawn's energy signature. The crystalline patterns across his skin pulsed with each surge, spreading further across his arms and chest as his transformation percentage held steady at 70%. Absorption chambers at maximum capacity, Petrov transmitted. Power levels exceeding design tolerances. Through the hybrid network, Marcus redirected excess energy flows, preventing dangerous buildups in critical systems. The strain of maintaining precise control sent waves of sensation through his enhanced nervous system. Incoming emergency transmission, Security Officer Krell announced. 3 medical transports requesting immediate clearance. The vessels Mercy's Flight, Aurora's Promise, and Guardian Spirit appeared on Haven Prime's enhanced sensor grid. Their transmissions carried urgent medical data showing 5 children in various stages of spontaneous transformation. Energy readings from Pure Dawn's destruction triggered premature catalyst activation, Dr. Ward reported from Tomorrow's Promise. Implementing emergency stabilization protocols. Lieutenant General Ward's voice cut through the command network. All vessels maintain quarantine positions. Stellar Aegis deploying escort screen for medical approach vectors. Dr. Morrison studied Marcus's neural readings as he coordinated with Haven Prime's evolving systems. Synaptic patterns showing unprecedented integration with hybrid networks. The changes appear permanent but beneficial. The Tor's twins channeled their enhanced abilities through specialized interface nodes. Alex's hands glowed with transformed energy as he converted power surges into stable hybrid materials. Crystalline structures grew from his touch, forming new absorption chambers and power conduits. Michael's healing field expanded outward, covering entire sections of Haven Prime. The resonance strengthened failing containment systems while supporting the facility's accelerated growth. Western Quadrant stabilized, moving to reinforce medical sector. A sleek salvage vessel approached the transformation zone's outer perimeter. Recovery's edge requesting docking clearance, Commander Christopher Ryan transmitted. Project Chrysalis recovery systems online. The specialized ship's hybrid sensors analyzed Pure Dawn's scattered remnants, collecting stable technology fragments for analysis. Each recovered component provided vital data about the cascade failure that had nearly overwhelmed Haven Prime's defenses. The Genesis Ark's ancient systems responded to the ongoing crisis, creating new transformation chambers equipped with Dr. Ward's stabilization technology. Training facilities took shape throughout Haven Prime, their reinforced walls designed to contain power surges from inexperienced hybrid users. Multiple biosignatures detected approaching transformation zone, Krell reported. 23 potential catalyst children identified in nearby sectors. Colonel Hayes's security teams moved through Haven Prime's expanded corridors, establishing protected routes for incoming medical transports. Safe transit lanes confirmed. Beginning emergency medical protocols. The research vessel Evolution's path emerged from hyperspace, its specialized hybrid monitoring arrays already scanning Haven Prime's transformed sections. Commander Sarah Matthews's voice carried notes of urgency, bringing advanced medical systems online, preparing for long-term observation protocols. Marcus felt the facility's systems evolving as more children began their transformations. Each new catalyst activation strengthened Haven Prime's power absorption efficiency, creating a network of enhanced energy channels throughout the transformed sections. Neural synchronization at optimal levels, Dr. Morrison noted as she studied Marcus's medical readouts. The hybrid integration is accelerating natural adaptation processes. Through crystal-enhanced awareness, Marcus coordinated with Haven Prime's defensive grid as Lieutenant General Ward's vessels maintained their protective screen. The combined fleet's hybrid-compatible systems created overlapping fields of protection around the transformation zone. Petrov's analysis confirmed the pattern. Haven Prime's power distribution network grew more stable with each successful transformation. The facility's hybrid materials adapted to support the expanding population of transformed children, creating specialized subsystems tailored to their unique abilities. As Evolution's path docked with Haven Prime's medical sector, Commander Matthews's advanced monitoring equipment began tracking the complex changes occurring throughout the transformation zone. Each piece of data provided new insights into the long-term effects of hybrid integration. The Genesis Ark continued its accelerated construction protocols, converting processed energy into essential infrastructure. New training chambers formed from crystalline matter, their designs incorporating lessons learned from previous transformation attempts. Marcus maintained his connection to Haven Prime's evolved systems, feeling the facility's enhanced capabilities through his transformed nervous system. The crystalline patterns covering his body pulsed in harmony with the massive power flows he controlled, marking the beginning of a new phase in humanity's hybrid development. Marcus's focus on Haven Prime's power distribution shifted as proximity alerts flashed across his crystal-enhanced vision. 30 vessels emerged from hyperspace in precise formation, their hulls gleaming with pure crystalline configurations unlike anything in the human fleet. Multiple Iridian signatures detected, Krell announced. Lead vessel identified as Crystal Legacy under Grand Admiral Thex's command. The crystalline patterns across Marcus's skin pulsed with increased intensity, emitting distinctive energy signatures that resonated with the approaching Iridian vessels. Through his hybrid interface, he sensed ancient systems within Haven Prime activating in response. New construction protocols initiating, Petrov transmitted. The Genesis Ark is generating specialized integration chambers design patterns unlike previous configurations. Dr. Morrison studied the rapidly changing data streams. Marcus's crystalline concentration is creating some form of resonance effect with the Iridian fleet. These energy signatures match encrypted protocols in the Genesis Ark's core systems. The facility's outer sections transformed as walls of hybrid material flowed into new arrangements. Specialized docking bays took shape, their atmospheric barriers capable of maintaining both human and Iridian environmental requirements. Prometheus Dawn requesting priority clearance. A new voice cut through the command channel. General Michael Winters aboard with Project Chrysalis Advanced Integration Systems. The experimental vessel's arrival coincided with Haven Prime's accelerated evolution. Sections of the facility reorganized themselves, creating dedicated research laboratories and diplomatic chambers suited for both species. Alex Torres placed his hand against a newly formed wall, his enhanced abilities allowing direct interface with the pure crystalline technology. The Iridian systems. I can read their base code. It's like nothing we've seen before. Beside him, Michael's healing field adapted to encompass the merged technologies. Damaged power conduits repaired themselves as his enhanced abilities bridged the gap between human and Iridian systems. Fascinating, Commander Matthews transmitted from Evolution's path. The transformation process is stabilizing in the presence of pure crystalline technology. Medical readouts show 40% reduction in neural stress during conversion. Grand Admiral Thex's voice carried across the command network, precise and measured. Haven Prime's activation marks the return of precursor bridge technology. Our historical records indicate similar facilities once connected multiple species across the galaxy. Through crystal-enhanced senses, Marcus observed Haven Prime's outer installations beginning automated production cycles. New vessels emerged, their designs blending human and Iridian engineering into streamlined hybrid configurations. Security teams deploying to hybrid vessels, Colonel Hayes reported. Crew integration protocols established with Iridian liaison officers. The research vessel Innovations edge-docked at Haven Prime's expanded medical sector. Dr. Victor Reynolds and his team began establishing monitoring stations throughout the facility, their instruments tracking the rapid technological evolution. Detecting multiple approach vectors, Krell transmitted. 15 potential catalyst children incoming from various sectors. Genetic markers suggest deliberate precursor engineering. Chief Engineer Petrov's modifications to Haven Prime's power grid created specialized channels for processing both human and Iridian energy signatures. Dedicated conversion matrices online. Power efficiency increased by 60%. The Genesis Ark's construction protocols accelerated, transforming huge sections of Haven Prime into a true technological bridge between species. Marcus directed excess power through the enhanced distribution network while maintaining precise control over the facility's hybrid systems. Through the crystalline interface, he sensed the arrival of more medical transports carrying children whose genetic structures had been shaped by ancient precursor influence. The combined technologies of both species created optimal conditions for their transformations, as Haven Prime continued its evolution into something entirely new. Marcus's crystalline resonance peaked as the Genesis Arc systems detected a specific harmonic pattern in his hybrid signature. Ancient machinery hummed to life deep within Haven Prime's core, initiating encrypted construction protocols that had lain dormant for millennia. Detecting massive power surge in central sector, Petrov transmitted. New construction patterns emerging from Genesis Ark's database. The facility's walls flowed like liquid crystal, reshaping themselves into a vast circular chamber. Crystalline spires rose from the floor, each one pulsing with streams of data as they formed an interconnected network of control stations. Command Hub initialization sequence detected, Dr. Morrison reported, studying the rapid changes. Marcus's 70% crystalline concentration is creating cascade effects throughout the power grid. Through his hybrid interface, Marcus directed excess energy through newly formed channels while Petrov's team installed stabilization nodes at critical junctions. The engineer's modifications prevented dangerous power buildups as the command hub took shape. Admiral Ward's vessel incoming, Krell announced. Destiny's Ford approaching on Vector 7. The massive carrier emerged from hyperspace, its enhanced sensors already scanning the surrounding sectors. Admiral Ward's transmission carried unmistakable urgency. Multiple Purity Front strike groups detected assembling in outer sectors. They've modified their disruption technology using Pure Dawn's wreckage. Alex Torres stepped into one of the command hub's interface stations, his hands glowing as he connected with Haven Prime's power distribution network. Crystalline displays materialized around him, showing real-time data from the facility's expanded systems. Michael took position at an adjacent station, his healing field merging with the hybrid materials throughout the command center. Power stabilization active, structural integrity at optimal levels. The Genesis Ark's manufacturing centers activated, producing sleek vessels that combined human and Iridian engineering. Each ship's hull bore distinctive crystalline patterns, their weapons systems designed to counter both conventional and hybrid disruption attacks. 17 medical transports approaching transformation zone, Krell transmitted. Detecting 28 potential catalyst children aboard. Commander Matthews directed Evolution Path's medical teams to the expanded treatment facilities. Hybrid conversion chambers ready. These new Iridian systems are reducing transformation stress by 40%. The battleship Sovereign Light dropped out of hyperspace, its hull filled with Project Chrysalis combat systems. Major General Harrison's specialized units deployed throughout Haven Prime's defensive positions, their hybrid-enhanced equipment integrating seamlessly with the facility's security grid. Multiple outpost activations detected. Grand Admiral Thex transmitted from Crystal Legacy. 12 ancient facilities extending connection matrices toward Haven Prime. Crystalline organic tendrils stretched between the activated outposts, forming an expanding network of support structures. Each connection strengthened Haven Prime's transformation capabilities while reinforcing its defensive systems. Lieutenant General Ward's voice carried across the command network. Joint Task Force Avalon now active. All hybrid-enhanced vessels coordinate with Iridian combat units for defensive screen formation. Through the command hub's enhanced interfaces, Marcus observed the merged fleets moving into precise formations around Haven Prime. Human and Iridian crews operated in perfect synchronization, their ships' hybrid systems allowing unprecedented levels of coordination. The facility's power grid pulsed with increasing intensity as more children began their transformations. Petrov's stabilization nodes glowed brightly, channeling the massive energy flows through reinforced conduits while maintaining optimal conversion conditions throughout the medical sector. Alex's enhanced abilities extended through Haven Prime's distribution network, allowing precise control over power allocation to critical systems. Michael's healing field stabilized the hybrid materials used in ongoing construction, ensuring structural integrity during rapid expansion. New transformation signatures detected, Dr. Morrison reported. These children possess complementary genetic markers. Their abilities appear designed to work in concert with existing hybrid systems. The command hub's central spire activated, projecting a detailed tactical display of the surrounding sectors. Marcus directed Haven Prime's defensive arrays through crystal-enhanced controls, preparing countermeasures against Purity Front's modified disruption technology. Through his hybrid interface, Marcus felt the facility's systems achieving new levels of integration as human and Iridian technologies merged into something greater than either species had created alone. The crystalline patterns across his skin pulsed with increased frequency, resonating with the ancient power now flowing through Haven Prime's transformed chambers. The facility's combat alarms activated as sensors detected multiple hyperspace signatures at the edge of Haven Prime's detection grid. Marcus processed the tactical data through his crystalline interface, watching as 4 to 7 Purity Front vessels materialized in a dispersed attack pattern. Multiple hostile contacts, Krell announced. Purity Front strike groups approaching from vectors 3 through 9. Energy signatures indicate modified disruption technology. The crystalline patterns across Marcus's chest and arms pulsed rapidly, automatically synchronizing with Haven Prime's defensive systems. Through his hybrid connection, he felt the facility's shield generators adjusting their frequencies in real time to counter the approaching threat. Vice Admiral Durant's vessel detected, Alex transmitted from his command station. Shadow's Reach requesting emergency docking clearance. The stealth cruiser's sleek form emerged from its cloaking field as it approached Haven Prime's secure docking bay. Durant's tactical data streamed through the command network, highlighting critical weaknesses in the enemy fleet's modified weapons. Their disruption technology is unstable, Chief Engineer Petrov noted, his hands moving across crystalline control surfaces. These power readings. We can use this against them. Engineering teams deployed throughout Haven Prime's outer sections, installing angular arrays that glowed with contained energy. Each device oriented toward the approaching enemy fleet, ready to absorb and redirect their weapons' excess power emissions. The Genesis Ark's construction protocols accelerated, producing angular combat platforms that matched Marcus's hybrid frequency. These automated defensive stations took position around Haven Prime's perimeter, their weapons systems primed for engagement. Medical Bay 6 through 12 secured, Michael transmitted as his healing field encompassed critical life support systems. Regenerative barriers active around transformation chambers. Alex worked beside his twin, establishing backup power nodes throughout the medical sector. Emergency reserves charged. Third of 4 transformation processes stable and isolated from potential combat damage. Crystalline organic tendrils extended from the Genesis Ark, integrating with Haven Prime structure. The merged systems created secure channels for transformed children to support defensive operations from protected locations within the facility. Colonel Hayes, status report, Lieutenant General Ward commanded. Hybrid strike teams in position, Hayes responded. Preservation Corps vessels deployed as mobile firebase platforms. We've integrated Iridian tactical protocols into our defense grid. Grand Admiral Thex's voice cut through the command network. Crystal Legacy, detecting specialized anti-hybrid weapons aboard enemy vessels. Data patterns suggest experimental technology designed to disrupt transformation processes. The Genesis Ark's manufacturing centers responded immediately, producing armored medical pods lined with hybrid material. These protective chambers activated throughout Haven Prime's medical wings, creating secure environments for ongoing transformations. New contact groups approaching, Krell announced. 15 medical transports on emergency vectors. Reading 22 potential catalyst children aboard showing active transformation markers. Lieutenant General Ward's tactical display updated with the new information. Task Force Avalon. Adjust Formation Delta. Priority 1. Establish secure corridors for medical transport approach. Hybrid vessels move to screen positions. Conventional units maintain concentrated fire zones. Marcus directed power through Haven Prime's enhanced distribution network, feeling the facility's weapons charging as Purity Front vessels entered maximum engagement range. The crystalline patterns covering his skin pulsed with combat frequencies, synchronizing defensive systems across the entire defensive perimeter. Shadow's Reach transmitting tactical data, Durant announced. Their modified disruption fields are creating increasing power instabilities. Maximum sustainable combat operations estimated at 4 to 3 minutes per vessel. Petrov's energy collection arrays activated as the first enemy ships came into range. Power absorption systems online, ready to redirect hostile emissions into our defensive grid. Through his hybrid interface, Marcus observed Task Force Avalon's vessels moving into precise screening positions. Human and Iridian ships coordinated their movements with fluid precision, establishing overlapping fields of fire while maintaining safe approach vectors for the incoming medical transports. The massive tactical display at Haven Prime's core showed the Purity Front fleet breaking into attack groups, their formation designed to saturate defensive coverage. Marcus felt the facility's hybrid systems responding to his enhanced control, ready to meet the enemy's first assault. The Purity Front fleet opened fire, their modified disruption weapons blazing across space in coordinated salvos. Marcus tracked the scattered formation through Haven Prime's sensor grid, noting how their dispersed positioning prevented effective concentration of defensive fire. Multiple impacts on outer shields, Alex called out, his hands moving across crystalline controls. Their weapons are penetrating conventional barriers at accelerated rates. Marcus channeled power through the Genesis Arcs network as crystalline patterns expanded across his shoulders and upper back. The facility's hybrid weapon platforms responded instantly to his enhanced control, directing precise counterfire while maintaining protective fields around medical sections. Defiant light requesting emergency approach clearance, Krell announced. Rear Admiral Kelly's carrier detecting critical power fluctuations in enemy vessels. Through the command hub's tactical display, Marcus observed 3 wings of hybrid-modified fighters launching from Kelly's carrier. The experimental craft demonstrated unprecedented maneuverability, their enhanced systems allowing them to exploit gaps in the enemy's scattered formation. Tor's twins, status report, Lieutenant General Ward commanded. Establishing concentrated barrier matrices, Alex transmitted, creating shimmering walls of energy that deflected incoming fire away from transformation chambers. Power draw stable at 80% capacity. Michael's healing field pulsed outward through damaged sections of Haven Prime's outer ring. Structural integrity restored in sectors 7 through 12, implementing automated repair protocols. Petrov's voice cut through the command network. Energy collection arrays functioning at peak efficiency, converting hostile emissions to power defensive systems. Marcus observed the engineers' modified arrays capturing unstable energy from enemy weapons, feeding it back through Haven Prime's hybrid network. Each successful energy conversion strengthened their defensive capabilities, the process becoming more efficient as additional children completed their transformations. New contacts detected, Krell reported. 3 enemy vessels breaking formation. Trajectory indicates attempted breach of inner perimeter. Colonel Hayes's response was immediate. Preservation Corps units moving to intercept, deploying hybrid-enhanced boarding countermeasures. The Genesis Arcs manufacturing centers accelerated production, creating sleek combat platforms that integrated seamlessly with Marcus's control network. These automated units combined human and Iridian weapon systems, their hybrid weapons cutting through the modified shields of approaching enemy vessels. Medical transports detected on approach vector, Alex transmitted. 5 vessels carrying active transformation signatures. Lieutenant General Ward's tactical display updated. Task Force Avalon, adjust coverage pattern. Priority. Establish safe corridors for medical approach while maintaining defensive screen integrity. Through his crystalline interface, Marcus felt Haven Prime systems responding with fluid precision. The facility's defensive arrays tracked multiple targets simultaneously, matching power outputs to enemy shield frequencies. Crystal Legacy engaging primary targets, Grand Admiral Thex announced. Detecting cascade failures in vessels with critical power fluctuations. Pure crystalline beams lanced from Thex's ships, striking Purity Front vessels exhibiting the most severe instabilities. Several enemy ships erupted in controlled detonations as their modified systems overloaded. Enemy fleet adjusting shield frequencies, Petrov reported, studying power readings from his collection arrays. Detecting adaptive patterns in their defensive matrices. Marcus directed additional power through Haven Prime's hybrid network, watching as automated defense platforms repositioned to maintain optimal firing solutions. The facility's integrated systems achieved perfect synchronization under his enhanced control, each component responding as an extension of his own crystalline structure. Breakthrough attempt detected in Sector 9, Krell transmitted. Enemy boarding vessels approaching medical containment zones. The Tor's twins responded in concert, their abilities amplified through Haven Prime's hybrid network. Alex's energy barriers condensed around critical passages, while Michael's repair field maintained structural integrity against concentrated weapons fire. Through the command hub's enhanced interfaces, Marcus coordinated defensive fire from multiple hybrid platforms while monitoring the approach of incoming medical transports. Each successful intercept provided additional data about vulnerabilities in the enemy's modified technology, allowing real-time adjustments to Haven Prime's defensive protocols. Task Force Avalon holding formation, Lieutenant General Ward transmitted. Maintaining coverage of medical approach vectors. Enemy units unable to establish concentrated fire zones. The Genesis Arc's production centers continued manufacturing specialized defense platforms, each unit automatically integrating with Haven Prime's expanding hybrid network. Marcus directed these automated systems with increasing precision, his crystalline concentration allowing simultaneous control over multiple combat operations throughout the transformation zone. A blinding flash erupted across Haven Prime's sensor displays as the Purity front vessels executed their synchronized barrage. Multiple power nodes overloaded under the concentrated assault, creating cascading shield failures across medical sections 3 through 7. Shield collapse detected in medical quadrants, Alex transmitted. Power distribution failing in sectors 12 through 15. Marcus's crystalline patterns brightened as he channeled additional energy through Haven Prime's hybrid network. His connection surged to 72% concentration, sending waves of enhanced power through the facility's defensive systems. The Genesis Arc responded instantly to his elevated signature. Deep within Haven Prime's core, a massive transformation chamber activated, its surfaces covered in intricate patterns unlike any previous medical pod. Specialized defensive crystals emerged from the chamber's walls, automatically integrating with the compromised shield grid. New contact approaching, Krell announced. Sovereign destiny on emergency vector. Fleet Admiral Conrad requesting priority docking clearance. The command carrier's arrival brought immediate reinforcement as its launch bays deployed Guardian-class hybrid battleships. These prototype vessels moved with fluid grace, their enhanced systems creating synchronized barrier fields that stabilized Haven Prime's weakened defenses. Engineering detecting unprecedented material evolution, Petrov transmitted, his hands moving across rapidly changing control surfaces. Hybrid structure adapting at molecular level. Crystalline organic components spread through Haven Prime's hull, automatically sealing damage from enemy weapons. The adaptive material flowed like living metal, creating regenerative patterns that enhance the facility's combat resilience. Alex gasped as new power surged through his hybrid connection. His energy barriers transformed, catching incoming fire and redirecting it toward attacking vessels. Beside him, Michael's healing field expanded exponentially, enveloping entire sections of the defensive fleet in regenerative energy. 3 modified destroyers breaching perimeter, Krell transmitted. Detecting experimental hybrid nullification devices. Preservation Corps, launch all strike teams, Colonel Hayes commanded. Priority target, stop those nullification bombs. The Genesis Arc's emergency protocols activated as specialized containment fields materialized around medical sections. Backup power systems emerged from the evolving hybrid material, creating independent life support networks for transforming children. Grand Admiral Thex's vessels executed precise maneuvers, bringing their pure crystalline weapons to bear on the modified destroyers. 2 enemy ships erupted in controlled detonations, but the third vessel spun out of control as its nullification device destabilized. Energy pulses detected, Petrov warned. Nullification field becoming unstable. Impact in 40 seconds. Medical transport emergency, Krell cut in. 7 new transformation signatures detected aboard incoming vessels. Lieutenant General Ward's tactical display updated instantly. Task Force Avalon, adjust coverage pattern Alpha. Create evacuation corridors for medical approach. Marcus directed power through Haven Prime's expanding hybrid network as new combat platforms emerged from the facility's structure. These integrated weapons combined human precision with Iridian power, intercepting enemy vessels with unprecedented accuracy. The strain of maintaining 7–2% concentration sent tremors through Marcus's enhanced physiology. His crystalline patterns pulsed with increasing brightness as he coordinated the facility's evolving defensive systems. Sovereign Destiny establishing synchronized shield coverage, Fleet Admiral Conrad transmitted. Guardian units moving to reinforce compromised sectors. Alex and Michael worked in perfect synchronization, their enhanced abilities creating layered defenses throughout Haven Prime's medical wings. Enemy fire bounced harmlessly off redirected barrier fields, while regenerative energy sealed hull breaches faster than Purity front weapons could create them. The Genesis Ark's new transformation chamber continued producing specialized crystals, each component automatically integrating with Haven Prime's adaptive structure. The facility's hybrid materials responded to Marcus's enhanced control, generating combat solutions that merged human tactical protocols with Iridian defensive technology. Through his crystalline interface, Marcus observed the destabilizing nullification device as it generated increasingly dangerous energy patterns. He directed power through the evolved defensive grid, preparing Haven Prime systems for the approaching wave of hybrid-disrupting radiation. Pulses. The device detonated in a blinding flash, sending waves of nullification energy cascading through Haven Prime's defensive grid. Shield emitters flickered and crystalline barriers wavered as the disruptive field expanded outward. Marcus's neural connection burned as he diverted emergency power through backup channels. Crystalline patterns spread across his torso, the living lattice extending down his legs as he absorbed the increasing power load. His enhanced senses tracked multiple system failures spreading through the transformation zone. Medical pods experiencing power fluctuations, Dr. Morrison transmitted. 34 active transformations at risk. A new signal cut through the chaos. Legacy's Hope requesting priority docking clearance, Dr. Elizabeth Stone announced, carrying specialized genetic stabilizers for nullification protection. Marcus directed automated systems to create a safe approach corridor as his ANTS research vessel maneuvered toward Haven Prime's medical wing. The ship's cargo held essential equipment designed specifically to shield transforming children from hybrid disruption effects. The Genesis Ark's core systems pulsed with ancient energy as previously dormant protocols activated. Crystalline organic structures emerged from transformation chamber walls, spreading through affected sections. These living countermeasures absorbed nullification waves, converting hostile energy into power for the defensive grid. Engineering detecting automatic reconfiguration of collection arrays, Petrov transmitted. His modified systems adapted in real time, developing specialized filters that screened harmful frequencies while amplifying beneficial emissions. Power stability increasing in medical sectors. Alex Tor's energy fields transformed, creating conversion matrices that captured nullification waves, redirecting hostile emissions to shield generators, effectiveness at 6–5% and rising. Beside him, Michael generated protective barriers around vulnerable medical pods, establishing nullification-resistant containment fields. Dr. Stone stabilizers showing green integration status. Alert, Krell announced. Sensors detecting chain reaction potential in debris field. Nullification device fragments becoming unstable. Preservation core Deploy dampening units, Colonel Hayes commanded. Strike teams moved with practiced efficiency, establishing a controlled detonation zone away from critical systems. A new vessel appeared on tactical displays. Evolution's Edge arriving with hybrid integration systems, Commodore Wilson transmitted. Moving to reinforce containment zone. The experimental ship's advanced countermeasures created overlapping fields of protection around Haven Prime's most vulnerable sections. Grand Admiral Thex's vessels coordinated with Lieutenant General Ward's task force, establishing layered fields of fire that kept enemy ships from exploiting temporary defensive gaps. Deep within Haven Prime's manufacturing centers, the Genesis Arc initiated production of specialized hybrid vessels. These new ships combined human precision systems, Iridian power cores, and transformed defensive technology. They moved with fluid grace, automatically deploying to protect incoming medical transports. Marcus observed these improvements through his expanded neural link. His connection revealed new capabilities emerging within Haven Prime's structure as the facility adapted to counter the nullification threat. Advanced medical pods materialized in secured sections, their enhanced containment fields maintaining stable conditions for transforming children. Stabilization protocols holding, Dr. Stone reported from the medical wing. Genetic protection measures at optimal levels. Through Haven Prime's sensor network, Marcus tracked multiple enemy vessels experiencing critical system failures. Their modified hybrid technology backfired as the facility's evolved defenses turned their own disruption attempts against them. The transformed defensive grid pulsed with increasing strength, each nullification wave absorbed and converted, making Haven Prime's shields stronger. New contacts detected, Krell transmitted. 3 medical transports approaching from Sector 7. Active transformation signatures confirmed aboard all vessels. The Genesis Arc's automated defense platforms adjusted coverage patterns, creating safe corridors for the incoming ships. Hybrid vessels produced by Haven Prime's manufacturing centers moved to escort positions, their integrated systems providing multiple layers of protection against both conventional weapons and nullification effects. Alex and Michael's combined defensive fields expanded through critical sections as Haven Prime's adaptation accelerated. The facility's hybrid network achieved new levels of efficiency under Marcus's enhanced control, transformed systems working in perfect synchronization to maintain stable conditions throughout the medical wing. Commodore Wilson's ship demonstrated the effectiveness of Project Chrysalis's latest countermeasures, its advanced integration systems allowing pinpoint neutralization of remaining nullification sources. The Evolution's Edge's hybrid weapons carved through enemy shields with surgical precision, while maintaining protective fields around vulnerable transformation chambers. Marcus directed power through Haven Prime's expanding defensive grid as the facility continued evolving new countermeasures. His crystalline patterns pulsed with increasing brightness, the enhanced connection allowing him to coordinate multiple systems simultaneously as the transformation zone adapted to meet each new threat. The strain of maintaining defensive protocols pushed Marcus's systems to their limit. His hybrid connection flickered as power fluctuations rippled through Haven Prime's grid. Critical threshold approaching, Dr. Morrison transmitted. Hybrid concentration at 72%. Marcus, your systems can't sustain this level of output. Through gritted teeth, Marcus analyzed his options through the crystalline interface. The nullification cascade was accelerating beyond his ability to contain it. He made his choice. Initiating emergency override, he announced, allowing his transformation protocols to advance. Crystal patterns completed their spread across his body as his hybrid integration surged to 75%. The Genesis Arc responded instantly. Integration chambers emerge throughout Haven Prime's core, their surfaces covered in precisely arranged crystalline matrices. These chambers connected automatically to Dr. Stone's genetic stabilizers, creating a network of protected zones throughout the medical wing. New vessel approaching, Krell transmitted. IFF confirms stalwart dawn. Admiral Jensen requests priority docking. The flagship's arrival brought critical reinforcement as engineering teams deployed with specialized equipment. They moved with practiced efficiency, installing prototype Nexus core modules throughout Haven Prime's medical sections. Nexus core integration at 30%, Chief Rodriguez reported from the flagship's engineering section. Stabilization field expanding. Alex and Michael's abilities synchronized with Marcus's enhanced network, their powers merging into a unified control system. Alex's energy fields transformed into precise collection arrays, drawing power from the nullification device and feeding it directly into Haven Prime's defensive grid. Converting hostile emissions to shield power, Alex transmitted. Michael, Northeastern Quadrant needs reinforcement. Michael's healing field expanded through the indicated section, maintaining structural integrity as crystalline patterns adapted to the enhanced power flow. The merged abilities of all three transformed children created stable conditions throughout Haven Prime's core. In engineering, Petrov's modified systems underwent spontaneous evolution. Collection arrays producing autonomous repair nodes, he announced, monitoring rapidly changing displays. Self-replication protocols active. Power nodes emerged from transformed sections of Haven Prime's infrastructure, spreading through damaged areas and automatically restoring compromised systems. The improvements created a resilient framework that absorbed both conventional weapons fire and nullification effects. Through the enhanced sensor grid, Krell detected systematic failures spreading through the enemy fleet. Purity front vessels experiencing critical malfunctions. Their hybrid modifications are destabilizing. Task Force Avalon, execute attack pattern Delta, Lieutenant General Ward commanded. Target compromised vessels. The counterattack struck with precision as Guardian-class ships exploited weaknesses in enemy shields. Transformed weapon systems pierced through failing defensive screens, neutralizing the remaining nullification devices before they could activate. The Genesis Arc accelerated its evolution protocols, converting entire sections of Haven Prime into advanced medical facilities. New transformation chambers activated throughout the expanding medical wing, their systems calibrated for multiple simultaneous procedures. Detecting 37 transformation signatures approaching from multiple vectors, Krell announced. Genetic profiles match catalyst parameters. Grand Admiral Thex's vessels moved into position around Haven Prime's perimeter, crystalline stabilizers deployed from their launch bays, creating an interlocked containment field that channeled excess energy back into the facility's defensive network. Iridian stabilizers syncing with human hybrid systems, Petrov confirmed. Integration successful. Power grid showing green across all sectors. Dr. Morrison's medical monitors recorded unprecedented changes in Marcus's physiological structure. The boy's transformed systems achieved perfect synchronization with Haven Prime's network, his enhanced connection maintaining stability across all operational zones. Detecting coordinated genetic activation in nearby subjects, Dr. Stone transmitted from the medical wing. The Catalyst children are responding to Marcus's elevated state. Enemy vessels began breaking formation, their hybrid systems critically compromised by Haven Prime's enhanced emissions. Lieutenant General Ward's integrated command structure coordinated the defensive screen as Purity front ships retreated from the transformation zone. Establishing expanded security perimeter, Colonel Hayes announced. Guardian units moving to defensive positions. The facility's hybrid network continued evolving under Marcus's enhanced control, generating new capabilities as the Genesis Ark's ancient protocols merged with human engineering. Power flowed smoothly through the stabilized grid, crystalline systems pulsing with steady energy as Haven Prime's transformation accelerated. Medical wing reporting optimal conditions, Dr. Morrison transmitted. All active procedures maintaining stable parameters. Through his expanded neural interface, Marcus directed power through Haven Prime's growing network of integration chambers. His enhanced connection revealed new adaptations emerging throughout the facility's structure as the transformation protocols achieved unprecedented efficiency. Evolution's edge detecting residual nullification traces in Sector 12, Commodore Wilson reported. Moving to neutralize remaining traces, Commodore Wilson transmitted. The Evolution's Edge's hybrid weapons fired precise bursts, eliminating the last vestiges of nullification energy in Sector 12. As the final traces dissipated, an unprecedented calm settled over Haven Prime. Marcus felt the strain on his systems ease as his crystalline patterns stabilized at 75% integration. Through his neural link, he detected new resonances emerging from deep within the Genesis Arc dormant sections activated, ancient machinery humming to life as his transformed state triggered protocols hidden for millennia. The crystalline formations covering his body pulsed with synchronized energy that spread through Haven Prime's network. His enhanced connection revealed perfect harmonics forming between human technology, Iridian systems, and hybrid components. Remarkable, Dr. Morrison said, studying rapidly changing medical displays. Marcus's hybrid integration has achieved optimal equilibrium. The strain on his systems has completely disappeared. Dr. Stone nodded, analyzing genetic data streams. His transformation pattern has stabilized. The crystalline structures are maintaining perfect synchronization with Haven Prime's power grid. Throughout the facility, new integration chambers emerged from transformed bulkheads. Each unit possessed unique calibration systems that automatically adjusted to individual genetic patterns. Alex watched in fascination as the chambers activated, their crystalline surfaces reflecting the pulsing energy that flowed through Haven Prime's evolved networks. Power distribution stabilizing, Alex transmitted, his abilities merging seamlessly with the enhanced grid. I can feel every energy flow throughout the facility. Michael's healing field expanded with newfound precision. Detecting optimal conditions across all medical sectors, the transformation zone has achieved perfect stability. In engineering, Chief Petrov's modified systems recorded unprecedented changes in Haven Prime's structural composition. The hybrid materials have developed self-sustaining efficiency protocols. We're seeing permanent stability in all integrated systems. The facility's medical wing hummed with activity as Dr. Ward's stabilization technology merged with evolved Iridian systems. Multiple transformation chambers activated simultaneously, each maintaining precise genetic parameters for its occupant. Integration successful, Dr. Ward announced. The combined human Iridian medical systems are performing flawlessly. Through the command center's tactical displays, Lieutenant General Ward and Grand Admiral Thex coordinated their combined fleet movements. Guardian-class vessels took up defensive positions, while hybrid ships established patrol patterns in surrounding sectors. Avalon Protocol now in effect, Lieutenant General Ward transmitted. All units maintain defensive coverage around Haven Prime's perimeter. Marcus's enhanced connection suddenly revealed new data streaming from the Genesis Ark's core. Ancient displays activated, showing detailed transformation procedures developed by the precursor race. Dr. Morrison, Marcus called out. The Ark is providing complete conversion protocols. These will allow us to establish optimal parameters for all future transformations. The facility's systems immediately began implementing the refined procedures. In the medical wing, The remaining Catalyst children completed their conversions under perfect conditions. Each child emerged with unique abilities that integrated smoothly into Haven Prime's operations. A girl named Sarah developed protocols that enhanced communications between hybrid systems. James created optimization matrices that improved power efficiency. Together, the transformed children formed an interconnected network that strengthened Haven Prime's capabilities. Through his neural interface, Marcus directed power through the facility's evolved systems with effortless precision. The strain that had earlier threatened to overwhelm him was gone, replaced by perfect synchronization between his hybrid state and Haven Prime's transformed infrastructure. Additional transport vessels approaching, Krell announced. Detecting multiple Catalyst signatures aboard, Marcus smiled as he felt Haven Prime's systems prepare to welcome the new arrivals. The facility had evolved into exactly what these children needed: a safe haven where they could explore their hybrid potential under ideal conditions. The Genesis Ark's ancient machinery continued its work, producing specialized chambers and adaptation protocols that would support future generations of transformed humans. Through his expanded connection, Marcus coordinated the facility's growing capabilities while maintaining perfect stability across all operational zones. The Evolution's Edge moved into escort position as the first transport approached Haven Prime's docking zone. Inside the vessel, more children waited to begin their own transformations under the guidance of those who had already completed the journey.